I thank you for the peaceful little town that we live in. Thank you for protecting our police officers and just be with them every night and day and just protect them. I pray for the police officers that are in LA, Chicago, Minneapolis, New York. Please protect them, put your arms around them, and just let them come home to their families every night. Be with our council tonight. Give us the guidance and wisdom to do what's best for our town. Everything we do and say, we give you the praise and glory. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First up is our public comments period. Now, we have a public hearing tonight, so some of y'all have signed up for that. But we got two people that signed up that want to talk about the same topic. The Brockers, Bronson and Christie. Am I saying that right? Brockard? Brockard. So do you want to speak during the public hearing, which is the time? Okay, gotcha. So the only one not on the public hearing tonight is Ms. Carol Hall. So you want to speak? Okay, so if you can come up here and give us your name and address. Tell us what you think.
You may not like what I have to say. Should I put this down?
Sure.
Okay. I sound funny because I'm from the South. My name is Carol Hall. I live at 226 Smith Circle in Stallings Park subdivision. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you folks about a subject that's near and dear to me and my neighbors. You may or may not be aware that Stallings Park is comprised almost primarily of senior citizens. And we were just informed, rather alarmingly, that there are now 3, perhaps more, locations in this subdivision that have been designated as sober living homes. We are concerned because of a certain element that may come into a neighborhood that has resided peacefully for 50-plus years, for the majority of us. We understand that a sober living home serves a useful purpose. It is an opportunity for those who have fallen to reestablish themselves in life, to be given a second, perhaps third or fourth chance. Everyone who has fallen needs a chance to be bootstrapped up and helped. We've all been in positions where we've needed a friend or a community to help us. But we are concerned for the fact that 3 or more homes in one subdivision dedicated to sober living is an inundation. It is an oversaturation. And we are concerned about our security, our safety, our property value, the infrastructure, and the possibility that one or more of these approved residences may bring in an element that will force us as residents to contact the law enforcement of this great little town and have them respond probably on a frequent basis. Hopefully that's not the case. But I would ask you, because you all decided to oppose House Bill 765, and that bill has not yet passed, and in that opposition, you stated that you wanted to run the town of Stallings the way that you and the citizens saw fit. And your citizens are telling you, please stop putting sober living homes in residences or in subdivisions that are small, that are lower income or middle income. It is not fair for a subdivision that has an HOA to say, no, we're not going to participate in this, and have it all fall on folks like us. So I know that my time is limited. I hope I've made a point. I try to be gracious about this. And I, again, thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hall. All right, did anybody else have a topic other than the public hearing and they didn't know that they needed to sign up? I don't want to miss anybody, so if not,
Can I speak about the proposed development, 222 units, or is that a later time?
that's the public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right now?
No,
Okay. Later. Later. I'll
later.
speak.
Mayor, this gentleman here would also like to speak on the sober living homes issue.
All
If
right.
it's permissible.
Yeah, it's permissible. Come on up and just give us your name and address, please.
My name's Mike Foster. I live at 124 Smith Circle, and I live 2 houses down from one of them. And less than a half a mile from my house is another one. And one of my neighbors has caught one of the people at 4:15 in the morning walking through our neighborhood that is supposed to be in the sober house. So that makes me feel uncomfortable. As of today, I'm having Ring doorbell and cameras installed on my house for my safety and the safety of my neighbors. So I would just like for y'all, I know y'all wouldn't want them in your neighborhood, you know. We have no idea if they're in there for alcohol, if they're in there for drugs, or, you know, I know they're not murderers, but still, I just don't want them in my neighborhood. So I would like for y'all to, because I will call the police if it comes to that point, you know, but I've lived there for 34 years now. My wife's been there for 40-something years, so thank you for your time.
All right, thanks for letting us know your thoughts, Mr. Foster. All righty. Next up is our consent agenda.
Hey, we got some more to say about that topic.
Oh, the sober homes?
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, we needed y'all to sign up, that's why.
I didn't know where the sheet was. How y'all doing?
Yeah, the name and the
Andrew
address, please.
Johnson. I live at 125 Smith Circle.
And what was your name again, please?
Andrew Johnson, 125 Smith Circle. And 2 weeks after one of the houses, you know, they moved in, my truck got broken into. You know what I'm saying? Y'all are creating a problem and violence over there. I'm just saying, I vote the junkies out of there. I mean, our community's been there forever, like normal peace. Not a lot of break-ins, and you know, look what y'all got now. It's creating problems.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
My name is Linda Bergloff, and I live at 125 Smith Circle in Stallings Park. And I've lived in my home for 42 years, but my ties to Stallings Park goes back to the very beginning, 1971, when my mom and dad had one of the very first houses, bought one of the very first houses built on Flow Drive. So I've been in that community just about from the very beginning. I raised my kids in that house, my grandkids. I watched my husband take his last breath in that house. We've been happy there. And this is just so upsetting to me. I will be 73 years old next month, and I do not feel safe in my house. And my grandson that just spoke has put up doorbell ring cameras, security cameras on all corners of the house, floodlights, and I still don't feel safe. And I had literally, over the past 2 years, I have spent tens of thousands of dollars remodeling my house on the inside. And it's beautiful now, inside and out. And I feel like that if these facilities are permitted to keep opening in our neighborhood, and one, from what I understand, is going to be open right next door to me, and there's one right across the street, and I feel like I might be forced to sell. And I don't want to do that. I would like to live out my remaining years in my home just as my husband did. And as our property taxes continue to rise, eventually the value of our property will start to go down. And the houses will be harder to sell, because who would want to buy a house in a community that has these facilities in it? And again, eventually, Stallings Park will no longer be a community, but it'll be known as the Sober Facility Community of Union County. Thank you.
Linda, how do you spell your last name, please?
B as in boy, E-R-G, LOF.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All righty.
There could,
No,
well, I'm just, yeah, I would just, that's all relatively new to us. I've seen a memo or two on it, but I'm just not sure what the resolution is. Could we ask the staff to send us some ideas?
oh, yeah,
I'm
because
just
staff's
curious.
aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All righty, next up is our consent agenda. I think the only one that I was talking to Alex that we need to pull off and get more details is F. I fully support it, but I wanted, Chief to give some more details. So if we can make F 9A after the closed session there.
Let's just approve it as, so I'm moved to approve consent items A through E.
All right, motion to approve, second by Mr. Hall, motion by Mr. Richardson. All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it. All right, reports, I don't have anything. Graham, you got anything?
No, sir.
Lori, you have anything tonight?
No, I was gonna talk about the 25th anniversary, but I thought Eunice could probably, there she is, okay.
Just in the back.
50th. No, go right ahead, because we got department heads here as well.
Hey, council. So just want to give you guys an update since Aaron's not here. The next council meeting, that is June 23rd at 7 p.m. Right before that, at 6 p.m., we're going to do our golden reception in honor of the town's 50th anniversary. The next day is technically the exact date of when the town was founded. So we will be celebrating in the park from 5 to 7 p.m. Please come, bring your kids. Y'all should all come now that we have an audience here. It'll be awesome. Like I said, 5 to 7 in the park on the 24th. And then on the 23rd, it'll be 6 p.m. right here. Just a little formal reception, just to meet and greet everybody. We'll have light refreshments and just celebrate the town's history. So, yeah.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Eunice. Stephen, you got anything?
Yeah, I would like to say that for WUMA this time around, we actually did take and have a larger forum with both Representative Willis and ARP. It was a really good question and answer session. They stayed for 3 hours. Matter of fact, I left before both Willis and ARP left, and they just took questions from the audience all night and questions from the representatives from each of the municipalities. And they just kept answering questions until, I guess, they finally decided to leave. I don't know when they left, honestly. They were still answering questions out in the foyer when I left. But it was good. It was civil. There were good questions. And I kind of felt like it was really productive. I mean,
Well, since we got a large crowd that probably don't know what WUMA is, can you explain to them?
yeah, we have a formal group that meets between Stallings and Waxhaw, Weddington, Wesley Chapel, and town of Marvin, and town of Mineral Springs. And we just discuss things that are issues that, are impacting all of our towns at once and kind of feed off of each other's synergies. Some things we haven't encountered and other towns have. Some of the things we're all going through at the same time. So it's just a good forum for us to kind of cross-pollinate and learn from each other and carry back good information back to our town councils.
All right, thank you, Stephen. David?
Nothing for me, no.
Brad?
No, sir.
All right, Alex, what you got for us tonight?
No report, sir.
All righty. All right, we got our agenda approval then, so the only change,
Mayor, I've got one to suggest. I'd like to move item number 8, which is a speed limit and pedestrian crossing item,
Oh.
up right behind the rezoning number 4. Some of the folks in the audience are in District 6 who might be more interested in hearing about that right after the rezoning.
all right, so number 8 now becomes 5, and 5 becomes 8.
So let me try to muddle through that if there are no other changes with the motion.
Now, any other changes? Go ahead, Brad.
I move approval of the agenda with the following exceptions or adjustments. Item number 8 now becomes item number 5. Everything else slides down a slot, and we're adding an item 9A called Police Department Staffing Grant Application. And we're going to remove
7-3.
7.3. If that made sense, we'll make that motion.
Melanie said they've, on 7-3, they've negotiated a settlement. So
I
no
think I
reason
said
to
that.
Have a addendum tonight, so, all right. Got it. All right, motion by Mr. Richards, second by Mr. Hall. For those changes, all in favor?
Aye.
All righty. Next up is our conditional zoning 25.02.02 to Cottage Green mixed-use residential. And so Part A is the conditional zoning, so I'll turn it over to our planning director, Max.
Hey, I'm out there, so in case you're wondering, I'm just sitting out there.
Okay.
Let me gather my stuff real quick, and I will be ready to present. Okay. Okay. All right, hello. So, thank you, council. I'm Max Strong, and I'm planning director for the town of Stallings, in case anybody here is wondering. I'm here to present staff's report for conditional zoning application 250202 Cottage Green. The applicant, HMF Americana, requested a conditional zoning for CZMU2 Mixed Use 2 at the following parcels along Matthews Weddington Road. It totals 36.81 acres in total, and the proposed development includes a 222-unit mixed residential gated community with a commercial component fronting Matthews Weddington Road. This is the updated site plan for this is a illustrative site plan, and I will come back to explain this later, but the developer is going to explain it a little bit more in detail than my presentation. But as you can see to the right of the illustration is Matthews Weddington Road with the commercial up front and the orange buildings with the residential component in the rear. And there is a wetlands in the rear as well, splitting the development, but it's not a floodplain. And as you can see, it's, like I said, 222 units, and then it's up to 30,000 square feet of commercial with an undeveloped area C, which I'll explain later. Just for additional context, the existing zoning is mixed use 2, which does not permit residential by right. I've been receiving some emails about residential by right, and I just wanted to let you know that that's why they're requesting a conditional zoning to allow residential on this site. Their conditional rezoning request also includes adherence to the submitted rezoning site plan, which includes adjustments from the ordinance to building placement and size, land uses, private drive layouts, gated access, and parking configurations. They've also requested vesting zoning rights from 2 to 5 years, a change from 2, which is in our ordinance, to 5 years. They were requesting residential for 222 dwelling units, restriction of certain mixed-use 2 permitted uses, which the developer will be going over, amended dimensional standards and lot types from our ordinance, and requesting some architectural review prior to some building permit issuance. As you can see, the site is the southernmost portion of Stallings. It's the very tip, and I can bring up an alternate map if you're wanting some additional context of where this is located. But the site's currently vacant, covered in vegetation, as you can see in the left map. And on the right map, the municipal limits, Stallings is in the pink, and adjacent to Weddington in the south, which is light pink, kind of purplish on this map to me. And then to the east is Indian Trail, Union County, and then to the north is Mecklenburg County. We've had a number of meetings on this topic, and all rezonings and all the meetings were advertised per state statute. We've had our neighborhood meeting, which we did also have a full house in here, on April 8th, 2025, where the developer explained their proposal to the public. We also had a subcommittee meeting with town council, which is only limited to town council. We had planning board on May 20th, which they recommended approval contingent on the applicant fully addressing the TIA related comments and it securing approval from the town and NCDOT. And then tonight's the town council hearing. There's a little bit of history on the site. Pre-2010, Harris Teeter acquired the site and installed the traffic light at Antioch Church Road and established vested zoning rights for their property for the Harris Teeter and commercial development. They never built it, so the town kept planning for the whole town. And in 2018, we adopted the new ordinance, and we designated mixed use 2 on this property. And we also adopted the Chestnut Small Area Plan, designating this area also for mixed use. In 2020, we had a conditional zoning about Rayleigh Townhomes, which is the rear of the property for over 70 townhomes, which was approved by town council at the time, and that site plan's to the right. They lost their vested zoning rights because the 2 years had passed and they hadn't applied for anything. So the site reverted back to mixed use 2 from conditional zoning, and that's why the applicant's here tonight. Additional project summary, the address is 3612 Matthews Weddington Road. Only one parcel has a physical address. The school, I already went over the site, it's 36.81 acres. The school district is Sun Valley, so they would be going to elementary Indian Trail, middle Valley Middle, and high Sun Valley High for this area. They have exceeded in the required open space and tree save requirements. The watershed is 6 Mile Creek, and the proposed density is 7.3 units an acre. And I got that from a developer slide, so I don't know if it's changed since they reconfigured the commercial. So I wanted to revisit the updated site plan again, just so you can see the mixture of the units. They're proposing 6-plex, 8-plex, patio homes, cottages, duplexes. So they're all, it's a mixture of different type of residential uses that total 222 units, as you can see in these white buildings to the on the top. And they also have no buffer on the top because it's adjacent to, to the north, because it's adjacent to mixed use 2 in Stallings, which you're not required to do a buffer, adjacent to the same zoning, mixed use 2 to mixed use 2. And the southern portion has a 40-foot buffer from Weddington. The commercial, they're requesting alleviation from buffer requirements on the commercial side, and I'll let the developer go over in depth the commercial component. They originally submitted a changed site plan, so I included the original site plan to the left, just so everybody was aware that the site plan has undergone changes throughout the conditional zoning process. In the middle, the longer picture, that's the updated portion. They've only amended the commercial component, and they've changed the greenway location from the rear of the commercial to the frontage along Matthews Weddington. And they left an undeveloped parcel to the north, adjacent to Chestnut Farms Apartments. Chestnut Farms Apartments does have an easement for a future road connection there. This is the schematic that they submitted with their conditional zoning. I already went over this, but this is just, it's better to explain the illustrative. It's a little bit easier to see. So regarding future land use for this site, I saw some slides from the developer, just so you know. I like some of your pictures, but the site is walkable activity center, which is a mixture of restaurants, community serving retail, townhomes, condominiums, apartments, all walkable. So this site does have a mixture of different types of uses, and it's a walkable community. So it is compliant with the future land use of walkable activity center. Additionally, the site is in the Chestnut Lane Small Area Plan. The Chestnut Lane Small Area Plan shows commercial along the frontage, a little bit more commercial, and residential in the rear, single-family residential in the rear. And then there's also a future rendering of what this site could look like along Matthews Weddington Road. Staff believes that they are mostly compliant with this small area plan. The small area plan is conceptual in nature. It does show a little bit more commercial, but that's because we did know Harris Teeter owned the property, so we did include that on the small area plan at the time. So staff does believe they are compliant with the small area plan. We also have a Greenway master plan that shows Greenway along the frontage of Matthews-Weddington Road and a 12 to 14-foot multi-use path, which they are also compliant with. The developer has agreed to build the multi-use Greenway path in compliance with the Greenway master plan. The left shows the location, the middle shows what they have to build, the suburban spine, and the right is the zoomed-in site of the Greenway, the conceptual plan that they submitted with their conditional zoning. And they have changed it to front Matthews-Weddington Road. But they also have sidewalks along the entire frontage as well. But, so regarding traffic improvements, so this is mostly under the, I would save some of your questions for the developer and the engineering team. But the traffic improvements, Cottage Green's expected to add about 300 to 375 new trips during peak hours. And they did complete a TIA traffic study. And they are proposing several improvements. I'm going to explain them now, but the developer is going to also explain them a little bit more in depth and provide a map. They're adding a new traffic signal at the entrance of Antioch Church Road. They're adding secondary entrances, 2 on each side of the development, right in, right out. And they're also, but NCDOT has also requested some improvements along the roundabouts on Chestnut Lane and Tilly Morris. But I did want to note that the traffic impact analysis has not yet been approved by the town or NCDOT. And we've also submitted our first round of comments, and that's under engineering's purview. So staff's recommendation. So staff recommends approval of 250202 with conditions. And there's a list of conditions, 12 pages of conditions that I explained a little bit in the previous slide. But also subject to the traffic impact analysis being approved by NCDOT and staff. So at this time, the TAA has not been approved, but this recommendation is based on the alignment with the comprehensive land use plan, the future land use designation of walkable activity center, the combination of commercial and residential with the small area plan, and the inclusion of the Greenway from the Greenway master plan. But like I said, the recommendation of approval is contingent on the TAA also being approved by NCDOT and town staff. Do you have any questions for me?
When do you expect NCDOT to approve it?
I
Or
will
review it.
leave that for the developer to answer, but
Okay.
I don't know if engineering, I don't know where anybody is. Do you know? No, no idea.
Okay.
Max, can you go back to that, with the Colonel Prince's park? So, show me where the project is in relation to Colonel.
Yeah, of course. So this is Union County Go Maps. This is the site right here, this dark, or I guess darker pink. There's a greenway located along the frontage of the Solace, or Chestnut Farms Apartments, in front of the roundabout, and it connects all the way to the park back here. So if this greenway was to be built, the residents and the commercial would have access for the greenway all the way to this park.
Okay, so it's not being proposed. I thought maybe you were proposed, they were gonna build it, or, never mind,
They would be building
Correct.
the greenway,
yeah.
if they were
Just wasn't
approved.
clear on where that little squiggly line was.
Yeah, of course. And I can zoom out just a little bit for more context. Stallings is kind of like a beach town. It's very thin and long. Mecklenburg County is like the beach. This is the southernmost tip of Stallings, the very last parcels from the southern portion.
All right, keep going.
Okay, well, I don't have anything else to add at the moment, unless there's any other questions.
Anybody have any questions for?
The developer is also going to present, and they probably will answer a lot more questions for you.
Yeah, let's let them do, then we'll take the public comments.
Can I ask one more quick
Yeah,
question?
sure.
I guess from the time that the number of commercial buildings was like 4, but they were all bigger, and now it's a smaller set of commercial buildings.
So that's conceptual in nature. So let me just, I'll pull it up again. Oh, sorry, I was pulling up the developer slide, but I will pull up mine again. So their condition is a maximum of a certain square foot for the commercial. And these are just conceptual buildings. They don't have to look like this.
Okay, so in this, for the site plan, it does not necessarily. Okay,
So excuse me, I apologize for interrupting, but just so you can see, this is just for conceptual, so you can see how commercial could build out. The residential will stay as is.
okay. So I guess my understanding is that we've seen a drop in total square footage of the commercial.
Yes.
So does this accurately represent roughly 30,000 square feet, or is?
I believe so, just because each building is around 7,500 square feet on this site plan. But they could combine the buildings and make them a little bit larger to an extent. But the maximum of around 30,000 square feet for the entire commercial. Yes.
So what's the minimum?
There is no minimum proposed.
A minimum square foot, so they could not build any commercial?
So they would still be tied to the site plan, but there is no minimum proposed. They do have a condition that does state that they would, let's see, build a certain amount, oh, here it is. The applicant must obtain a vertical construction permit on at least one building located on development area A, which is this top portion right here, before it can obtain the final certificate of occupancy located on the residential site. So they'd have to start construction on the commercial before they get their final CO.
But would that be for the final building?
Yes.
Residential building, so they could build 221 units,
Correct.
and we can't hold them to the commercial?
Correct, unless the condition was agreed to and amended from council and the applicant.
If I can speak from behind you.
No, ma'am, no, ma'am, ma'am. When we have public comments, we'll get you up here and we'll answer all your questions, okay? Thank you.
Hey, Max, I
Go ahead, Greg.
got a question, Mayor.
Oh.
Just real quick, Max, just that would be very helpful. Point out the roads. I think that's what the lady was.
Of course. So I will zoom back out to Go Maps.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna select just the specific parcels in question. And I know a lot of people probably haven't seen an aerial map of this, but this area highlighted in the dark red is in Stallings, and it's all along Matthews-Weddington Road, and it's across the street from Antioch Church Road, which they are proposing a fully signalized traffic signal with their TIA. So that's the location of the site. Does that help better help? And then to the north is the Chestnut Roundabout and the Chestnut Farms Apartments. And then if you keep going south into Weddington, this is the Tilly Morris Roundabout in front of the school. I'm blanking out on the name for some reason. Union Day, thank you, just being up here, just forget. But that's the location. So hopefully that better helps answer everybody's question of where it's located.
All right.
Yeah, of course.
Go ahead, Graham.
The sewer, it's the, $1,000 question. What sewer system would they be?
So they are in the 6 Mile Creek watershed. So at the top of my head, there isn't as many sewer complications on that watershed, but I would say probably a better answer for the developer to give you that answer and what they've done to acquire sewer capacity.
And then the streets, roads within the development, are they going to be private or public?
They are proposing private roads, so the town wouldn't take them over for maintenance.
And then there's a lot of people here, so what's the difference between private and public? I mean, obviously the funding, but are the requirements the same for like road,
They're-
street width and?
They're not. So the street width are, since they are proposing private, they can propose a different width than a 40-foot right-of-way, which is our minimum for adoption. So they could do smaller streets. But we would not be maintaining these roads as a town, so they wouldn't have, council wouldn't be making the decision on whether or not to improve these roads if there was like a pothole. The town, the development itself would have to fix that with their like fees, their association fees or whatever their fees are.
But is there anything we put in there that says they can't later become public?
At the top of my head, I don't think so, but we could definitely, I would suggest adding that condition so that they cannot be public in the future. Just because they are not gonna be built to town standards.
Yeah, if they're not built to town standards, how would?
Yeah, so I would definitely ask the developer to add that to the condition.
So did they, on the proposed map, have they shown you the width of the streets?
Yeah, they are on the schematic. I'll let the developer go into more detail on the width of the streets, because they have all the details on their site plan and their presentation. I just kind of did a general overview, just so you understand what's going on.
All right, thank you, Max.
Yeah, of course. So I am going to pull up the developer's presentation. They're going to present next, and then just for everybody in the public, then the public will be able to kind of discuss their comments. All right?
Yeah, Mary, I forgot to.
And I'll be standing out there
All right.
listening.
Mary, I
you
forgot
need
to
me.
open the public hearing, so it's now open. So sorry about that. Yeah, thank you, Max. Go ahead,
course.
John.
Mr. Mayor, members of town council, town staff, members of the public, I'm John Carmichael, and I'm representing the applicant, HMF Americana. With me tonight are Tim Crawford.
Pull that thing down.
sorry.
Thank you, John.
With me tonight are Tim Crawford and Frank Warren with HMF Americana, Craig Berwick and Sean Hicks with Seaman Whitesides, the applicant's engineering firm, Randy Goddard with Design Resource Group, the applicant's traffic engineer, and Aaron Hauk, who works with me at Robinson Bradshaw. I'll go ahead and answer two questions really quickly. The streets are not intended to be a public street. As I'll show you, they would be gated. And there would be no intent to offer those to be accepted to the town. Of course, the town would have to agree to accept the streets as public, but there's no intention to offer those as public streets or to ask the town to take them over. And in terms of the width, they have to meet the requirements of the fire department. I just wanted to respond to that while it was on my mind.
All right.
So the site, as Max said, is about 36.81 acres. It's located on the western side of Matthews-Weddington Road at the intersection of Matthews-Weddington Road and Antioch Church Road. The site's outlined in red on this slide. This is an aerial of the site. Chestnut Farm is located immediately to the north. Francis Beatty Park in Mecklenburg County is located to the west. As previously stated, Union Day School is located to the south. Then you've got the Marathon Gas and the Extra Space Self-Storage located across Matthews-Weddington Road from the site. As Max said, this is the southernmost parcel located in the town's jurisdiction, and you can see the surrounding jurisdictions here. The site is currently zoned MU2, which is the mixed-use 2 zoning district. That's the same zoning classification as Chestnut Farms. And the applicant is requesting that the site be rezoned to the CZ MU2 zoning district to accommodate a mixed-use project that would contain residential uses and non-residential uses. In terms of the non-residential commercial component, it could contain a maximum of 30,000 square feet of non-residential uses. Drive-through lanes and drive-through windows would be prohibited. The maximum size of any non-residential building would be 7,500 square feet. And the purpose of that commitment is to hopefully ensure that the uses there are neighborhood serving uses. And then the primary exterior material on each side of each commercial building would be brick. And there are a series of, or a list of prohibited uses. The prohibited uses are supermarket, convenience store with gasoline sales.
Yeah, just real quick.
Mhm.
I'm looking through, Max, I'm looking through our development general provisions here, and it says 2,500 square feet. So it seems to me like maybe either I'm not reading this correctly or.
In terms of the maximum building size?
But it says a total maximum of 2,500 square feet of gross floor area devoted to the non-residential uses. And yet, on the slide before this, it says 30,000.
It's 30.
It is 30.
Yes,
So I
sir.
think that would be unless I'm reading it wrong, it seems like that would need to be updated on this document.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Ayers. It's 30,000 square feet.
Okay, all right.
And so in terms of prohibited uses, there's supermarket, convenience store with gasoline pumps, gas station, pharmacy, florist, butcher shop unless part of a restaurant, bakery unless part of a restaurant, a store selling alcohol for off-premises consumption, vape, tobacco, or CBD product store, smoke shop, a hookah bar, and a tattoo parlor. Some of these prohibited uses may look odd, such as a butcher shop unless part of a restaurant. That's because Harris Teeter is selling the property. If the petitions rezone, if the site's rezoned, Harris Teeter would sell the property to the applicant, and some of those restrictions are part of the contract with Harris Teeter. They obviously don't want a supermarket to go there. In terms of the residential component, it would be a maximum of 222 residential units, of which a maximum of 84 could be multifamily units located in two-story sixplex and eightplex buildings. Under the plan, the residential uses would be comprised of 47 detached cottages, 21 detached terrace homes, 70 attached patio homes, which are duplexes, and then, of course, the 84 multifamily units located in two-story sixplex and eightplex buildings. This is the site plan. Once again, Matthews Weddington Road is located along the eastern edge of the site. The commercial components are located next to Matthews Weddington Road, and the residential component is located to the rear. It's the western portion of the site. The site also includes 2 streams and it would include 2 stormwater detention ponds. A 40-foot wide type A buffer would be established along the western portion of the residential component and the southern portion of the residential component. And then there'd be a 10-foot wide modified type A buffer along this portion of development area A, which is once again the commercial component. And I've got another slide that provides a little more detail on that buffer located along the southern edge of
Clarify the ponds, did you say detention?
stormwater detention ponds are right here. Yes, ma'am. So access, there'd be 3 access points into the site from Matthews Weddington Road. The primary access is labeled as Access A. It would be a full movement signalized intersection that'd be dedicated through right and left turn lanes out of the site onto Matthews Weddington Road. There'd be a southbound right turn lane on Matthews Weddington Road into Access A, a northbound left turn lane on Matthews Weddington Road into Access A, and then there'd be a northbound right turn lane added to Matthews Weddington Road that would turn obviously onto Antioch Church Road. Access B is the southernmost access point. It would be a right in, right out only access point, and there'd be a southbound right turn lane into this access point. And Access C is on the northern edge of the site or close to the northern edge of the site. It also would be right in, right out. There'd be a median strip installed in the street. There'd be a right in, right out only. Once again, a right turn lane, a southbound right turn lane on Matthews Weddington Road into the site. On the rezoning plan, the site's divided into 3 development areas. The red is development area A. It is a commercial component. Development area B is the residential component, and development area C is a commercial component. And then, to make it even more confusing, development area A is further subdivided into 2 subdevelopment areas known as development area A1 and development area A2. And I'll tell you why. So of the 30,000 square feet of non-residential commercial uses that would be allowed under this plan if approved, 25,000 could be on development area A, which is in the red, and 5,000, up to 5,000 could be on development area C. Another limitation is that a maximum of 10,000 square feet of the 25,000 square feet on development area A could be located in development area A1.
Councilmember Ayers, not to interrupt you,
No,
John,
you're
that
good.
answers your question about the 25 and the 30. What you were reading was 25 for the red area. I guess if you flip the page, you'll see another 5 to see. I just
Yes, sir.
Makes sense.
Thank you. So to kind of summarize development areas A and C, they'd be one-story buildings, and they're drawn in orange. And there could be fewer or more by virtue of dividing the buildings or combining the buildings, but nevertheless, they could not exceed 7,500 square feet in size. Brick would be the primary exterior material on each side of the building. There'd be a 12-foot wide multi-use path greenway trail installed along the site's frontage on Matthews-Weddington Road, north of the primary access point here. And then south of that access point, there'd be a 5-foot wide sidewalk installed along the site's frontage on Matthews-Weddington Road. That's consistent with the town's Greenway Master Plan. And there'd be open space, green areas, and plazas between these buildings. Now, Development Area C, as you can see, does not have a site plan. That would be developed sometime in the future. However, it would be subject to the same use restrictions and design standards as Development Area A. There would be a driveway stub from Development Area A to Development Area C here. And under the applicant's rezoning plan, prior to the development of Development Area C, the developer would be required to obtain site plan and building elevation approval from the development administrator and the planning board. So this is the western portion of the site, otherwise known as Development Area B. It's the residential component. And then this is the eastern portion of Development Area B, that portion located closest to the commercial component. There would be 2 access points into Development Area B from Development Area A. So you access Development Area B through Development Area A, and both access points would be gated. So these would be private streets internal to Development Area B. The Leasing and Amenity Center would be located near those 2 entrances. There'd be a clock tower and an obelisk located close to the Leasing and Amenity Center. And then when you drive into the site, you'd have a real Main Street feel, and there would be 6-plex and 8-plex 2-story residential flat buildings. So 2 stories, each building would either have 6 units or 8 units. And there would be a common green going through the site that would provide a gathering space and contribute to a real sense of place. As you travel from the 6-plex and 8-plex buildings.
Real quick, are those individual units on 2 stories or the same unit?
They're flats, so there'd be units on the second floor and units on the first floor.
Okay.
Yeah. And so you'd leave that portion of the site, and then you arrive at the patio homes, which are 1-story, essentially duplex units. And each patio home, and by the way, each residential flat located in a 6-plex or 8-plex building would have a usable porch with a depth of 8 feet. The patio homes or duplexes, once again, and each patio home would have a private yard and a usable porch with a depth of 8 feet. So these are the patio homes here. The cottage homes are located here, and those are 1-story detached homes. Each of these residences would have a private fenced-in yard and a usable porch with a depth of 6 to 7 feet. These are the terrace homes. These are detached units. They're 2 stories at the front. They're 3 stories at the rear to take advantage of the topography. The rear of the units would face the stream buffers, and each terrace home would have a deck on the rear of the unit and a 1-car garage and a 1-car driveway. And then these are garages and carports that residents can lease to park their vehicles in. And then that's the dog park. So this is the western portion of Development Area B. And there are terrace homes on the other side of that stream buffer, and they're just like the terrace homes on the east side. Once again, 2 stories in the front, 3 stories in the rear. The rears would face the stream buffer, and then you'd have a deck at the rear of the unit, and then each unit would have a 1-car garage and a 1-car garage driveway. And then these are the cottage homes, which are the 1-story detached homes, private fenced-in yard, and a usable porch with a depth of 6 to 7 feet. And then carports and garages on this side of Development Area B as well. And then in some, development area B would be a walkable gated community, have a pool and amenity center, clock tower, novelesque, community lawns and a separate dog park. The 36-foot maximum building height is really just for the terrace homes because the other buildings are shorter. There'd be no vinyl, ephes, or masonite, except that you could use vinyl on windows, trim, doors, garage doors, and soffits and railings. There'd be garages and carports. Yes, sir?
Can you go back one slide? I'm
One more?
just cautious right there.
Here?
Yeah, I mean, that is like, I'm kind of doing some quick math here. What about 25 homes? And I guess, is that enough parking for all those homes? I mean,
Well, there's also surface parking as well. I don't know if you can see that. So you've got garages and carports and then surface parking. I think Mr. Warren can speak to the parking, but we feel that they're more than adequately parked, and we can explain that.
Okay, I mean, it just seems, just from the picture here, it looks like
Right.
a really limited amount of parking.
Right.
Can you expand?
I don't know how to expand. I guess I could come out of this. Hit escape and then zoom in.
You could just do that.
It's the only way I know to do it. Go like this to 400.
That's kind of good.
That works.
So the terrace homes would have a one-car garage and a one-car driveway, and then there would be carports and garages, and then the surface parking here. Can y'all see that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of,
Never enough parking at
I mean, that looks,
condos.
yeah, I mean, it looks like, for me, unless my counting's off, there's only about 10 lots for approximately 6 places. So, okay, I mean, but, and then the homes across the street don't look like they don't have, the bigger ones don't have a garage or,
Well, the garages are not assigned, so the terrace homes have their own garages. The rest of the garages and carports can be leased by anybody, so they're not assigned.
the ones on the, kind of the
Here?
most western border, west.
Yeah,
the
these
biggest
these
ones.
do not have garages here, but they can lease a carport or a garage, and there's also the surface parking in front of the units.
Okay.
So these are detached homes, by the way.
Okay, yeah, okay.
What do you mean lease a car?
Well, I mean, all these units would be for rent. And so the carports and garages, other than the garages and the terrace homes, are not assigned to anybody. If I live there and I want a garage, then I would have to lease the garage to utilize it. Otherwise, I could use the surface parking at no additional charge. The garage is like an amenity for a resident that they don't have to take advantage of.
Garage attached to their home?
No, ma'am. They're freestanding garages. Let me go back to this.
Lori, I'll add, next door, the Chestnut Farms community has a similar setup with free surface parking and I think about 14 garage units that you can pay extra to put your car in. So it's not inconsistent with the multifamily type apartment community.
And that's pretty typical in more modern multifamily developments, is they'll offer that. Unless it's a really urban apartment building that has structured parking, and if it's more of a garden style or your typical multifamily development, then the newer ones will offer from time to time carports and freestanding carports and garages.
On the same theme, I mean, are these garages that can be leased, are they pre-wired to have availability for charging? Is there charging stations?
So we in the rezoning plan, we've committed to have a minimum of 7 EV charging portals, and that the precise locations will be determined with Max during permitting. But there's no, I'm not aware of any plan to have EV chargers in the garages. That's where they occur? Okay. Thank you. So we'd have a minimum of 7 on the site, but it could be more.
Is that part of the conditions?
Yeah, the minimum 7 EV chargers is part of the conditions in the rezoning. In the development standards on the rezoning plan, I don't know, Councilmember Ayers, if it's in Max's document, but it's in the development standards that are part of the rezoning plan.
What is it?
Page 5.
H5. Yep, I skipped right over it.
And then so finally, there'd be amenities in the open space such as walking trails and a pocket park, and that would be in addition to the amenity center that's located near the front of the residential component. And then I talked briefly about the buffer located along the southern edge of Development Area B. And this is Development Area B, the residential component, and this is that 40-foot wide Type A buffer. As a result of conversations with a neighbor that lives adjacent to the site along the southern boundary, the applicant is committing to install a berm here within that 40-foot buffer that would have a minimum height of 4 feet and then have buffer plantings on top of it. But that's something that just came about in the last, I think, Friday. So I don't think Max was aware of that, but I want to make sure that y'all were. John, can you come speak? Yeah.
Are you through?
He's just going to go a little bit over the product, and then we'll answer and then Randy's going to talk about transportation.
Well, while you're up here, I have one question about the commercial component.
Sure.
The front of the buildings, which way would they face? Away from the road, or to the road, or toward the development?
You mean the front door?
The front door.
Well, the front, there's a provision in the development standards that would allow the door to face the parking lot rather than the sidewalk.
Okay, so that's the way y'all gonna build it?
I think that's the way they would prefer to build it, yes, sir.
So I'm concerned about what the back of the building that would be facing Matthews, the road, what it would look like.
Right.
I mean, are you gonna put signage on there, or, you know, is it gonna be in the same construction look as the whole?
Well, it'd be brick and there would be fenestration, and I'm sure there would be signage on there, but I don't know that they've gotten to that level of detail yet, but we certainly can talk to you about that. Happy to do that.
Just want it to look good.
Oh, definitely. And if this were to move forward, that would be the gateway to their residential component, and they would certainly want that to have a nice appearance.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. This is Frank Warren with the applicant.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Frank Warren with HMF Americana. Appreciate the opportunity to present our project tonight. Also with us here tonight is Tim Crawford, that John pointed out. Tim is really the visionary behind the Cottage Green, and he is with us here tonight to help answer any questions. I am going to run through the product. We've seen a lot of flat visuals. I'm going to try to show you what the product actually looks like and address some of your concerns. But I'm going to try to answer a couple of questions. Councilman Hall, you mentioned the sewer, so I can go ahead and address that. So if that's appropriate.
Sure.
So we are in the 6 Mile Creek Basin, which is west of Matthews Weddington Road. That sewer line is already there. It's already in place. And there are no limitations on the 6 Mile Creek Basin right now. So we could actually, once we get our zoning, we can go to Union County for our permit. They have informed us, because we've had discussions with them, that there is adequate capacity in that line for us, and also treatment capacity in Mecklenburg County. So you cross Matthews Weddington Road, and you're in 12 Mile Creek, and we all know about that. So did that answer your question? Okay. Yes.
Mecklenburg County is going to be processing your wastewater.
That's right. They already do for Chestnut Farm.
That's what I thought I heard, then I heard how Union County's involved in this.
Well, so it's interesting. So it's Union County water along the road, and so Union County Utilities serves this site. However, because of the way the land, the sewer flows, basically, you know, Matthews Weddington Road is an old road. It rode the ridge, like most roads. So the west side flows into Mecklenburg County. Does that make sense? So
Wastewater, Mecklenburg, water supply, Union.
That's right. So there's, yes, interbasin transfer agreement on that, to get technical, right?
All right.
Okay, all right, enough on sewer. Okay, so also on the parking that you had asked about, so our engineers are here, and they can address any questions about parking ratios, but we've got plenty of parking, so we can deal with that issue. So I would like to just run you through our concept. So the cottage green is it's a horizontal multifamily housing concept. That means that we are not single-family rental. We are not individually platted lots. It is a centrally leased and managed community. So we're not traditional apartments. We're not Chestnut Farm next door. We're not 3- and 4-story apartment buildings. We're either single-story or 2-story. As John mentioned, it's really important for us at the beginning to have the Main Street feel, the sense of arrival with our 2-story buildings. And a lot of the units face the greens that he talked about. You'll see the southern small-town architecture, which is really important. The 4 building types, which I'll go over. The usable porches is very important for us for the sense of community, and also the private yards on the cottages and patio homes. We've had a number of questions, just wanted to address them up front about who would live here and who our residents are. So we know who lives in our other communities. So this is a summary of them. And when Tim first started envisioning the cottage green, he did not realize that it would really appeal to one very specific demographic, which you'll see on there, which is single women. It is, but I'll jump back up. Our residents are high income. Most of them could afford to buy a house. They're renters by choice, most of them. Full age spectrum, we've got folks from 20s into their 70s, early 80s. We have a very low turnover rate, which means when people move in, they are less likely to move out than maybe a standard apartment because they love living there. About 60% of our people are usually from the local area, so they're very familiar with the location. And then I mentioned the single women. They love the privacy. They also love the sense of community that we provide. And I'll show you some photos of the amenity center. So we have the privacy and community married, which works very well for our residents. Okay, enough on that. I always go the wrong direction. We've also had questions about our how we screen our residents and credit score. I just want you to see that it's a pretty complicated process, right, to apply to live in one of our communities. And we have management folks who review everything. When somebody calls to ask about qualifying to live in one of our communities, they will maybe volunteer some personal information, but we can't take that into account until they actually apply, right? And these factors all come into play when they apply. So just want to make sure that everybody understood that you have to qualify to live there. Not only do you have to make the income, you got to pass all these checks. All right. Again. All right. So these are from actually completed communities, what I'm going to show you. I'm going to try to run it through here pretty quickly. This is our Main Street with the 6 plexes, 8 plexes, the leasing center, the amenity center, the clock tower. Tim loves the clock tower, so that is our signature piece. This is the Main Street view, ground level with the 2-story and the leasing and amenity center. This is from the porch of the leasing center You can see the two-story buildings across the street. Those are actually sixplexes, and so there is a really good view of one. You'll see that there are no exterior stairwells on the sixplex. And again, John had alluded to the usable porches, even on the two-story buildings. This is one of our greens. The patio homes are on the left and right with the fenced private yards. The cottages are in the back, also with the fence enclosed private yards. And again, these units are fronting on the greens. Here's one of our cottage homes. These are the patio homes. You'll see the lighting, the art is for that community. So, yeah, that's subject to, we could do that here, we could do art or not. But you'll see that each green is lighted. This is one of our porches on the patio homes, and then a cottage home front porch, and the pool and clock tower. Here's our leasing office, the amenity center. So we had been requested to show some interior photos. This is the amenity center. This is one of our gathering areas. Here's the gym. Here's the community kitchen where you can have events. You can rent it out. And here's the patio outside. And again, the amenity center and the clock tower. Here are some, yeah. Yeah. Yes, that's correct. So that is just outside the amenity center. So the amenity center's inside with the gym and the kitchen and the living room, and then you come out on the patio, and the pool would be to the right. And there's a grilling station back there as well. I guess I could use the pointer. Works. Okay. So I have a couple of renderings for you. This is from the entrance, so from the commercial area. A couple of changes since this was done. One is that the greenway is now along Matthews-Weddington Road. So initially, we did have it between the commercial and the residential, but based on input from the town, other folks, and just our engineers, we decided it was better to move it out to the road where it's shown in your Greenway Master Plan. And we probably do not have room for that pickleball court. And that's partially because of the movement of the Greenway to the road and the improvements that we're going to make on Matthews-Weddington Road. We might be able to fit a small putting green. So you'll see the gate, right, to get in, and then the other gate would be on the north side. The small building up at the top is the mail kiosk. And then, so the question came up, Mayor, I think you asked about the view of the retail from the road. So the buildings sort of have two fronts, if you will. So you'll see the signage, the fenestration facing Matthews-Weddington Road, and you do have the sidewalk in between, but there's also a front with a door in the back with the parking. So you'll see the buildings. Again, question came up about 2,500 square feet. One of the conditions is maximum 7,500 feet in a building, but as drawn, they're 2,500 to 7,500. So that may be where the 2,500 came. Yep. I'm not sure. And with that, I'm going to, unless you had any questions for me.
Okay, any questions for Frank?
What percentage are one-story buildings?
So usually it's about 2/3 to 70% of our units are single-story, right? I don't have that exact percentage in my head for this, but that's pretty consistent. I'd probably lean on Craig to tell us, the engineer, but that's pretty consistent. So somewhere between like 2/3, 70% are the single level. This development is a little different though, because we've never done the terrace homes before, the detached, because we haven't had a 100-foot stream buffer before that we can look out on. So it's a unique situation and a unique product. those are 2 stories, right, in the front, and then 3 stories in the back to fit the stream buffer. So as soon as I say 2/3, he'll correct me because those units are technically 2-story. Okay? All right?
Graham?
Yes.
So, how many of these communities built so far?
Do you want to answer that? Okay. 2 completed, 4 under construction.
And I think there's one in Greenville.
It is under construction. That's right.
How many of these have a commercial component?
So the 2, well, all of them. Just Greenville. Okay. Yeah. One of the ones in Texas and Greenville. Yep.
The one in Greenville is, how far along is it now under construction?
We are still doing site work.
Okay.
Still on
So
site
it's-
work.
It's still a ways away. Okay.
Hoping to go vertical late summer.
All right, any other questions for Frank? All right, who do you want to bring up next? John?
Randy Goddard, the transportation engineer, and I did want to point out my error. We do have elevations for the commercial that are part of the rezoning plan. They're further back in this presentation. We can show them later, show them now, or I'll let the transportation engineer go up, but they are part of the submittal. So they're, and they do show, I'll show them to you later if you'd like me to.
Sounds
Okay.
good, John.
Okay, sorry about that.
So, good evening. I'm Randy Goddard, Design Resource Group, Senior Principal there, 1111 Hawthorne Lane, Charlotte, 28205. So we prepared the traffic study for this project. As soon as I can get it together here. Is it just right-click left? No? Okay. Okay. Okay, let me start over here. So we prepared the traffic study for this project. We started off by meeting with Stallings staff, having discussions with them, and also with NCDOT to scope the traffic study. This is an overall area plan. You see the site plan, and you see that it's basically bookended by the 2 roundabouts, being Chestnut to the north, Tilly Morris to the south in front of Union Day, main access opposite Antioch Church. So we analyzed all those intersections. We took traffic counts during the time when school was in session at both Union Day, Antioch Elementary. We took those traffic counts, added our traffic on top with the growth rate, then looked at mitigating the traffic. So with that, we have access improvements at each of the locations. This looks like it may be, okay, it's a bit out of order. So I'll go here. The main axis is opposite the existing T intersection that's signalized at Antioch Church. We're adding the 4th leg to the intersection. We're adding 3 exit lanes at that approach, a left, a through, and a separate right. All those have 125 feet of storage. There's 1 inbound lane, and then that's access A. Access B is to the south. It's right in, right out. There's an existing median already there right now. We've added a right turn lane that's going to be 100 feet into that location. Access C, as was noted in an earlier plan, it was further to the north where there's an existing median. It's been shifted to the south. And with that, we're adding a new right turn lane of 100 feet of storage and a new median section to ensure that it operates as right in, right out. And this is the overall plan, so it's all those improvements noted there. That also includes signal modifications. So again, with NCDOT, they've looked at this traffic study. They provided comments, and then in relation to that and looking at the comments, Antioch Church has been mitigated. The comments came back about Tilly Morris Roundabout and also at Chestnut. This one's probably a little bit hard to see, but we just got the comments at the end of last week from NCDOT. So in response, we looked and we found a way to mitigate and do improvements actually at the Chestnut Roundabout. So it's probably a little bit hard to see, but we're adding there's 2 lanes approaching the Chestnut Apartments, and then we're going to carry that through. So then we're going to end up with 2 lanes southbound on Matthews Weddington Road, traveling south, and instead of separate right turn lanes at the northern access point and at our access opposite Antioch Church, we're actually going to continue that lane all the way down and drop it as a right.
Can you show us on the map, like, what, you know, it's hard to tell where you're talking about and where
So
the roundabout.
this is the Chestnut Roundabout at the top of this map.
Right.
Yeah, with the arrow.
Expand
that-
it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here. Max, you want to help out on this one?
So we're debating who's gonna go first. Do you want to zoom in on this map specifically?
Why don't you zoom in on these?
How about the one
How
that
about
has
on the
roundabout?
exhibit?
Because I can just zoom in on Go Maps if that's easier, just to kind of
Well, I
navigate.
thought maybe on the
Yeah.
last
Talking
one, the
about
exhibit we had.
lanes.
Okay.
So if you continue on our presentation where we've got the Chestnut Roundabout, so keep going.
Okay.
No, it was that one.
It was this one?
2 back, 2 back.
I apologize, I didn't
Yeah.
make the, is this one you wanted to zoom in on?
Yep.
Yeah, so go up to the north on this actual plan and then zoom in, keep going further, and then go north on the plan. Keep going, there's the Chestnut Roundabout.
There you go.
Okay, sorry, I wasn't aware of the layout slides. But if
No
you want to
problem.
use this to go up and down, you can, it's up to you.
Okay. So again, this shows the improvement at the Chestnut Roundabout. So we've got 2 lanes approaching, which are right now. We would expand, and then this would modify this island up here. So we'd carry the 2 lanes all the way through the roundabout and continue south. So that is an additional lane southbound from the roundabout all the way down along our frontage. So we'd be widening right here in front of that out parcel that's at the Chestnut Apartments, tie back into the right turn lane that exists at the southern access to Chestnut, the apartments, and then widen across this little piece of frontage here, and then tie into where our frontage is, and then carry that all the way down along all the frontage to drop as a right turn lane at the access opposite Antioch Church. So that's the improvement for that access point. So I've just kind of quickly gone over the result of the traffic study. We got again, the comments from NCDOT. I sent an email back to NCDOT to address those. And what we feel are the improvements that we've done and we've shown at Antioch, which again also includes, and I didn't touch on it, but John did, a northbound right at this intersection to Antioch Church. That's got 225 feet of storage. With all those improvements to the 4th leg for Antioch Church, and now the additional improvements at Chestnut, we feel they actually go above and beyond, so it more than mitigates our traffic at both those intersections. And we've asked NCDOT and Stallings staff to consider that adequate to address the impacts and the additional trips that we've added to the network as a result of this development. So
What about that other roundabout?
the one at Tilly Morris, so that one there, what we've done is, if you remember, the amount of development that was originally proposed here has been reduced. So now it's a max of 30,000 square feet. The original traffic study had significantly more trip generation. We had more retail in the original traffic study.
Oh, the 10,000 square feet?
So the original one had 43.6 as far as the original amount of retail. It's now dropped to a maximum of 30, which is 19,100 of retail, 10,009 of restaurant. The 10,009 has stayed, but the amount of overall retail has been reduced. So we reanalyzed the intersection at Tilly Morris to show that it doesn't change from a level of service, and even all the approaches doesn't change. The only thing that changes is a slight increase in delay. So what we've done is we provided that information back to the town and NCDOT in consideration for how we're improving these other two intersections above what would have to be done to meet the minimum requirements for mitigation. And that's how we feel we've addressed all the traffic issues related to the two roundabouts and that Antioch Church.
So you're waiting for NCDOT?
So we're waiting for NCDOT to hear back from them, and then we can wrap up a finalized traffic study that addresses NCDOT and the comments that the town made on the traffic study. So that's what we're waiting on. But again, I just received those comments from NCDOT at the end of last week. So I did have a discussion with them and then did a response email to address their comments related to the two roundabouts.
All right. Thank you, Randy.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Randy? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. That's it?
Appreciate your time, and we're happy to answer any questions.
All right. Well, let's hear from the residents, and then maybe they'll have some questions that y'all can come back to and answer.
Where do you want to go on the PowerPoint or jump out?
I don't know what you do with this. Guess you just, I don't know.
Yeah, you just leave it there. We need to. All righty, now we'll get to the public comments. So first up is Christy Brockard. Am I saying that right? Brookard. Brookard, okay. So just give us your name and address, and you have 3 minutes to tell us what you think.
Okay. So my name is Christy Brookard. My address is 2002 Viscount Drive, Matthews, but I'm in Indian Trail. But unfortunately, we directly back up to Chestnut Road. We moved there 6 years ago, and what I have learned since we moved there is it's almost like a zigzag between Stallings and Indian Trail, who owns the property. And so I moved there 6 years ago, and I don't know how many of you guys are new, but in the amount of time since I've lived there in 6 years, right now under construction is a Pulte home development of new homes. They built Grace One Church since I've moved there. This is all on Chestnut Lane. The Chestnut Farm Apartments have gone in, huge development. That honestly changed our quality of living in our backyard dramatically. That has been the biggest change. That's why I'm here, because now we're facing it again. They've also put in the courtyards at Chestnut Lane, it's 55 and older, Walden at Chestnut Lane, Ambrient at Austin Village for seniors, Harper's Run Townhomes, Indian Trail Senior Apartments, and all of this is a 2-mile stretch of a small 2-lane Chestnut Lane. And when I pulled in to buy our home 6 years ago, so peaceful, so quiet, absolutely the North Carolina I thought I was moving to, just beautiful. You go in our backyard, peace. And I am sincerely inviting every single one of you to come sit in my backyard at any time of the day, and you will hear the traffic noise. And I back up to a 2-lane highway or 2-lane road that nobody would expect it to be as loud as it is. And it's constant. All times of the day is just constant, and it's loud. And so now this huge development is going to come in, and what I think is cute is the changing of the roundabout does not change the fact that the roundabout widening feeds into a 2-lane road still called Chestnut Lane and Weddington Road, and it affects what happens at Union Day. And I drive this daily, and daily I sit in traffic. Daily I am stalled. Daily I sit behind 10 cars trying to get around. And what I'm asking the town of Stallings is to listen to the people that have already bought property here and why we bought property here, and what we fell in love with. And it's just being ripped out left and right. And because there is no plan, and like I said, we have a zigzag across Indian Trail and Stallings, and I know you guys went to a meeting together. That sounds great. I hope you guys communicate a little bit. But us being stuck in the corner, and they act like it's a good thing, that we're stuck in the corner. Well, this property doesn't matter because it's in the very corner of Stallings. It matters to me. It matters to everybody here that came. Just like the people who don't like the sober living, it affects their life. I mean, they've lived there 40 years. They should be heard. I bought my property for a reason. And my value, my tax value increased. They think my house is double worth what it was when I bought it 6 years ago. My value hasn't increased. My personal value hasn't increased 50%, 100%. It hasn't increased like that. I sit in my backyard. I have to turn music on in order just to not hear constant noise in my backyard. And I sincerely, again, one thing, you're all invited to my backyard. I'd love for you to hear it. Two, when my kids were little and my kids would go visit my mom, I always reminded her, I was like, I know you love them. I know you love them, but you can tell them no. I know that our city planner is working with the developers. I know you guys love them. I know they bring in money, but you can tell them no. Thank you.
Bronson Booker?
Bronson Brookard, same address, 2002 Viscount, Brookhaven. My day job is I'm a transformation guy. I bring change to companies and build companies from the ground up. That's my job. So I like change. I'm really good at ambiguity. Change doesn't bother me. I know change is happening. Developers develop. That's their day job. That's what they're supposed to do. My real challenge here is because we are sort of in this crux of Weddington, Stallings, Indian Trail, I'm missing one, Matthews. It seems to be this catch-all where nobody's collectively thinking about it outside of the residents of the area. God bless your questions. Because I really thought you had great questions. And I know you all are volunteering in a lot of ways for this job. You're not getting rich, doing this work. So I know you care about the community. But my thing in the building part of my job is like, what are you building? Your actions here determine the future of this community and what it looks like 20 years from now. That road is already crazy busy. The road to Chestnut is crazy busy. 222 units is only going to make it more busy. Yet and I've had the chance to live in a lot of different communities. A lot of communities I've lived in have made the developers put the infrastructure in, sort of your question in line, before the units go in. Get what you expect out of them first, then let them get what they want from you. That would be my suggestion here is the Weddington Farms property was supposed to have lots of stuff that we never got at the end of the day as a result of that project. I worry these projects become sort of empty promises. And I just want to make sure as you build these things, be mindful about what you are building. Because 20 years from now, it is the area. For me, individually, if I don't like it, I'll just move, frankly. I have that choice, I have that freedom, I can move. No problem. I'll move down the road in Matthews or I'll move somewhere else. No problem for me. But I just would encourage you to think about that because I know it's this tip of the iceberg for Stallings, but for the people around there, it really does matter. So anyways, that's really all. Just, you guys will make the decisions. I know you'll make the decisions that you think are right. But I just encourage you to think about what it is you're building. So, thank you.
Excuse me. Sir. Can you clarify what was promised in the one development and where that's at? Just
Weddington Farms, right north, commercial questions. Hey, are these commercial buildings going in? Yes or no? How many times? How many units? Did it really happen? Well, sort of, maybe, possibly. That sort of stuff was supposed to happen there. And I don't think we have any commercial property there at all.
We were supposed to have commercial, and it wasn't supposed to be 3-bedroom apartments, and all of it changed in the process.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yep, thank you.
Next up is Timothy Smith.
Tim Smith, 1108 Weddington, or Waypoint Court, courtyards of Weddington Road, right along the site that we're talking about. I've lived here 10 years. I was very active in the discussions when they did the apartments. I think some valid points have been made. There's no doubt the traffic is going to improve. There's a school issue. I now hear, which I was confused on, that the water is going to come from Union rather than from Mecklenburg. To me, that's an issue since our water situation is so poor now in terms of pressure. But a couple other perspectives here, specifically on the traffic right away, is that one thing we don't know that's going to happen is once they open the interstate up at Weddington Road by the Y, what's going to happen to the traffic coming over there? We don't know that yet, but I understand they're talking about that, and it's probably a 2027 resolution at that interchange. But being involved in, and I was involved in the lawsuit for the apartments and was very much against it, but I will say this, that without that and without that roundabout, I don't know what the traffic would be like. Yes, it's 2 lanes, but it flows so much better, it's safer. Could it be better? Yes, it could. I like the idea of the improvements that you're talking about at Antioch Church, the turns, the extension of the lane off of the roundabout. That's an improvement, and as I understand it, those will not happen if this project is not approved. So we will continue to have the traffic that we do. It will be even worse. I think our traffic load right now is less than it was pre-COVID. That might change. That's obviously the demographics of how people work today. I guess my opinion overall, and you've got a tough job, I think this could be an improvement to the overall traffic situation long-term. But like the gentleman before me said, we need to hold the developers to their promises and to make sure we get what's in it. I commend that your process is better than it was the last time when we did the apartments. I give you credit for that. Lastly, I'll give credit to Brad Richardson. As a council member, he's invested, he's done his homework, he's sat out there, he's given us good information. We know the positives, the negatives. That's the kind of energy investment that we want to see as residents and how we make decisions. So I thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Laura McElroy?
Can I ask questions? Am I able to get clarification?
Well, we'll answer some of them.
Okay,
We'll
all
see,
right.
you
I've
know,
just,
if we
that
have
was,
the answers. You know, some of them we don't, I don't know your questions.
sure, or can I ask the
Yeah,
developer? Okay.
that's what, if there's some questions that they need to answer, they'll come back and answer them.
Okay, sure. I live at 3001 Fair Forest Drive. So I was just listening to all the presentations, and I think one thing I was a little disappointed in the traffic study, like I know that it's a patchwork quilt with all of the different cities, you know, Mecklenburg and our counties in Union and then Stallings, Indian Trail and whatnot. But I was a little disappointed that Socrates School was not included in the traffic study. And then there wasn't also consideration of when 485 does open up near the Y, because that's going to drastically change. I mean, we're looking at just Union County School and up through the roundabout at Chestnut, right? That's where the traffic study was. So I don't think that gives a really big picture of what is going to be impacted when this, if this development goes through. And I think one of the other pieces on the southern portion where you talked about the southern exit, I don't know if you realize that that is on a blind curve. I drive that all the time, as do my neighbors. And so when you're turning down where that is positioned, that right-only entrance and right-only exit is on a blind curve. So I think that could have the potential for increased accidents. I just wanted to point that out. And then one of the questions I had, so the resident demographics that you presented, those were based on the 2 existing properties, and you said one was in Texas. Is that in the Woodlands area? And what was the second one? It's also in Texas. Okay. So I just don't know if the demographic, because I'm familiar with the Woodlands area. That's a pretty affluent area in the Houston, metroplex. I just don't know if the demographics, like how can we compare that to what's happening in Texas, to what's happening here, and what those demographics will look like for our community. And then the other, I guess, clarification I wanted is, So the commercial development that will take place in the two existing properties, like what percentage of those commercial properties are in operation? Like, will there be the potential for those commercial buildings to just sit there, vacant for a period of time? I didn't know if you could share a percentage of what the existing commercial is in those two properties. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, ma'am. I will tell you that a lot of developers underestimate the average income in Stallings. It is almost $100,000 is the average income in Stallings. And that's with several very undervalued neighborhoods. So a lot of developers underestimate that. So whether they can support this, I don't know, but that's 2 cents I'll give you. Sandy Farnley? Fairley, thank you.
Thank you for your time and for the opportunity to express my concerns. As Laura had mentioned, I'm a little concerned about applying the demographics mentioned. I think Mr. Warren said that they know who lives in their communities, but that would be their existing only 2 completed communities in Texas. So I think saying, 95% no children doesn't necessarily translate to this development. I'm not sure we can, apply those demographics. If I understood correctly, too, when you had asked him a question, I'm not sure they have any commercial yet developed in any of those 2 completed developments. Is that right? The traffic along the proposed 3 entrances is already extremely congested at school and rush hour traffic times. At times backed up in gridlock at the Chestnut Traffic Circle. I think it was last year, possibly, law enforcement had put up one of the temporary signs going into the traffic circle saying, high crash zone, stay alert. I think that speaks for the time of traffic we have there. As Laura mentioned, the entrance on the Weddington side of Matthews-Weddington Road just past Antioch, I think it's labeled Access B. That's actually blind. If you're coming along from Access C, I guess it is, past Antioch Church, if you came around that corner, all of a sudden there would be that right turn in and right turn out lane, which presents concerns. I think there are impacts to the traffic that haven't yet been realized. Socrates School, as mentioned by Laura, this past academic year, they had a student body of 1,056. This coming academic year, they have 1,140 students enrolled. They've added 12th grade. They do have teen commuters at the school, as they do at Union Day. We have yet to know how the traffic from the 57 homes built on Chestnut Lane, which has just recently become Indian Trail, we have yet to know, they are not yet completed, how that will impact the traffic. We have yet to know how the traffic from the new interchange, as mentioned, at 485 will affect the traffic. I know you're talking about decreasing the speed limit to 35 miles per hour. I don't think we know yet how that will affect traffic. Hopefully it'll improve. If we add in a pedestrian crossing, that's good for pedestrians. I'm not sure, given how people navigate or don't navigate traffic circles, it sounds a little scary to me. If we were in healthcare, we'd say this is maybe a time for watchful waiting and please do no harm. As a resident of Stallings for over 30 years, my bottom line is safety and quality of life. And I don't see this development as enhancing either for the current residents of Stallings. And I fear the political bottom line is monetary or tax base. And if that's the case, then I would like someone to please tell me specifically what this development provides, how many dollars is this going to save me to not be able to get out of my neighborhood or travel smoothly or safely. Thank you.
Where do you live? I don't get your address. What's your address?
Oh, sorry, 3200 Fair Forest Drive.
Very good.
All right, next up, Shannon Welton.
Hi, my name is Shannon Welton. I'm at 2137 Climbing Rose Lane. I was doing some research on the developer themselves. I would hope that you guys have researched and kind of looked at their track record. But I noticed, and I'm just going to read through some of my research and just ask that you just think about some of these points. On their website, they say that they actively seek large-scale expansion opportunities in what they describe as an ever-growing horizontal multifamily housing category. Their marketing platform is they market to potential partners, indicating a business model focused on development and handoff, not long-term community investment. Their only completed development that I was able to find, other than the boardwalk, was the Cottage Green in Conroe, Texas, which was quickly acquired and rebranded as Cottage Living Woodlands by Christopher Todd Capital and Palmetto MDR. And the property is now managed by a third-party firm, Willow Bridge. To me, this clearly demonstrates that at the end of construction and sale, that's where the HMF folks, that's where their role ends. So it raises questions to me about the long-term accountability and their commitment to these local communities. If they can finish their construction, sell it, and a leasing company comes in, they're no longer responsible to us. So if that commercial doesn't get built and they sell it to another developer, where do we go from there? On the website, the Cottage Green is listed as a prototype on their website, signaling that the concept is experimental. So if this is a prototype and this comes from their website, how can the accurate claims be made about resident demographics, occupancy patterns, and school-age children, especially in a brand-new market? This is the first in North Carolina. So how do they know our market? Do they know that people will come get apartments in a town or a city just so their child can play a sport at that particular high school? There's no public evidence that the HMF folks have completed multiple developments or have any long-term community partnerships. There aren't any. Their only tangible experience appears to be limited to the pilot project that has already changed hands. So given this model of build, sell, and exit, what are the safeguards in place to protect Stallings once HMF has divested and moved on? Will we be left with third-party property management firm that has no connection to the town, its values, or its long-term vision? This type of development with no enduring stakeholder ties deserves close scrutiny before it's approved. Our community should not be testing ground for prototype business model, especially one that's designed to disengage after construction. Thank you.
No, thank you. Next up is Brian McCammett.
My name is Brian McCammett. I live at 2141 Climbing Rose Lane. My house is that first house that you'll see right next to Sue Patton's estate, which is the large square. There's two large squares. The one is the Hill Estate, and then you'll have the Patton Estate, and I'm right there. My wife and I bought that house 20 years ago, and 19 years ago I came down here, and we were actually in the room across the hall, and you voted on changing the from residential to what it is today. And I stood against that, and I read directly off your website, and your website stated very clearly that you were going to limit the rezoning of residential. There was a nice standing ovation, but then in the end, and about 10 minutes later, y'all voted to go ahead and change it again. So I'm going to voice my concern again, and I've been to each one of these meetings. I'm going to reiterate what I said on the last one. My main concern is the traffic. Now, everyone's been focused in on this intersection of Antioch and Weddington Matthews Road and Chestnut. What you're not realizing, or at least I don't think you're taking into consideration, is Weddington Matthews Road turning into Tilly Morris and going all the way down to McKee. So that entire road I've lived there for 21 years, and it got to the point where early on, you didn't even have to look before you pulled out of our neighborhood. You just went. Now, if there is no rush hour, the hour is rushed all day. You've got 3 elementary schools within a half a mile of each other, and you have 3 roundabouts within a mile and a half. That ought to tell you something about the traffic. I don't know if it's even been mentioned. If you go down Chestnut and go down maybe, it's about a half a mile, and on the left, there's a new development. I think it's called Elmsbrook. There's 57 new units going in there that aren't even developed yet. They're not even developed. There's one model home. I drove back in there today. It is deep. They say it's 25, 30 acres. It looks bigger. You've got more homes that are building, in this area. You've got big home developments that use this road routinely today. You got Deerfield Creek. There's over 500 homes, 200 homes in there. You've got 500 in Brookhaven. I mean, these are large developments. So the traffic is a big deal for me. The roundabouts, they're doing a good job right now. I mean, you're still waiting. I mean, with these elementary schools and kids, the buses going into Weddington to go to Weddington Middle School and Weddington High and going to Antioch. I mean, and you've got a lot of parents driving kids to school. So we're getting to a safety issue here. And I would agree, be careful what you're building here. And I'm being affected, I've got a garage now in my backyard. I would much rather see single-family homes. It would at least, I don't care if it gets developed. I really don't. I hope it does. But with 22 units, I mean, you add up just the places that I mentioned, that's over 1,500 cars if one person in each household drives a car. One person. If there's 2, you've got almost 3,000 cars on the road. Now you're going to potentially add 500, 400, I don't know, 212 unit. How many cars is that? And the demographics, I'm not buying it. Why would that particular demographic buy that? When it's advertised that it's 20% more than the units you just put in, it's 256 units right next door? So is Stallings going to be the apartment capital of Union County? I mean, Weddington votes against this all the time. Be a good neighbor. Say enough is enough. Let's put in a development that makes sense. Wait for a developer to come in. Have them build houses. People that are going to stay, that are going to take care of your community. Renters aren't going to take care of your community. It's just not going to happen. You know it. Every one of you knows that. Nobody wants that in their backyard, per se. I mean, let's do it right. Take care of it. Thank you.
Next up is Francis, and I can't read your writing here, something. What's the last name? Sir? Swanepoel. All right.
Francois Swanepoel. We reside at 609 Gelderland Drive. We've been there for about 10 years now. We moved in 2015, December of 2015. We moved to Stallings, Union County because we didn't want to live in Charlotte, Mecklenburg County. So last week we attended a meeting with Rosegate Holdings, and I noticed that none of the council members were present. So I don't know why you weren't present last week, but you should have been. So they are planning on building on a 6-acre site right next to our development. They're planning on building 45 townhomes and 10 commercial buildings on a 6-acre site right next to where we live. And the only reason why we were notified of it was because we live within 500 feet of that new development. And I was very concerned when I showed up last Monday, and none of you were here. None of you were present. And I would like to know why you weren't present. Because I had questions for you, and you weren't here.
Which development is this?
Rosegate Holdings. It's right next to Arlington Downs on Gelderland, on Pleasant Plains. So Yeah, sure.
Hey, Max.
So my concern is they're building 45 townhomes and they're building 10 commercial buildings. It's not been approved yet.
So I think just mistaken, he should have, talked at the beginning, public comment period, which is totally fine. That's a different development than this one.
Right.
They did have a community meeting last week. That's along Pleasant Plains, and it's close to Potter Road.
Yes.
And he lives within 500 feet, so he attended the community meeting last week.
Correct.
So that meeting is the first meeting out of 4.
Okay.
Usually, historically, council, they are notified of the entire schedule. And it's up to them if they would like to attend that meeting. They are not required to, but they are required to attend that subcommittee meeting and the town council, which is the second and the 4th meeting. So I think definitely, definitely the council members should
Sir,
come.
I can tell you, I was out of town last week when that
Okay.
meeting happened.
Excuse me, but none of you were here.
Yeah.
You were all out of town?
This is my district. It's my district, though.
All right, I appreciate the comments, sir, but,
So-
we have a process, so Max tried to explain it to you, so we understand you're concerned about it, and so when it comes up before us,
Yeah,
we'll hear
Matt's
you.
going to council on September 22nd.
22nd, September 22nd.
So, get my business card. Please, email me, and I'll email you all the schedule for that meeting, and we can talk about,
Okay. Do you have a card?
getting council. Yeah, I'll give it to you right now.
Okay. All right, I really appreciate the opportunity to speak. I've never attended a council meeting in Stallings. I've lived here for 10 years, and the only reason I'm attending is to let you know that I am very concerned about that development because it is right outside of my neighborhood. I mean, you don't have to even go, I think it's 50 feet outside of my development's entrance. And we are on a private road. We own those roads. Our HOA owns the road. So it's going to be right there. And those developments are going to get 2 parking spaces, and that's nothing to do with you. That's what the construction guys are going to do, the developer. They're going to give them 2 parking spaces per unit. So 45, even if they only have 2 vehicles, that's 45 units times 2, that's 90 vehicles added to that space. And there's no traffic light there. There's no traffic light. So those people are gonna not find parking there. And you know what's going to happen? Oh, let's turn in here and go park on these people's private roads. Because that's already happening. We have people coming into our neighborhood and parking in our neighborhood and then walking and exiting on the backside, leaving their vehicles there, going to work in Charlotte, coming back, and then going back home. And the vehicle stands there, and I know that because the vehicle stands there from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And then at 5:30 p.m. it's moved. Because, okay, I'm back from work now, so I can move the vehicle. And we have no access because we cannot put up a gate there. So either I call the cops or you guys do something about it.
All right.
Thank you much.
Sir. I think Francois or something. And then your wife, Melissa?
Okay, so Melissa Swanepoel, 609 Gelderland Drive. Pretty much everything my husband just said, but I want to touch a little bit more on the traffic of that development because, like you said, there's no stoplight. We have Potter Road and Pleasant Plain intersection right there, and it backs up every day, rush hour. I can't get out of my development. I can't get in. It gets really bad there. Now they're working on that area, but it's going to be quite a while before that's fixed. I'm just worried, adding all these homes plus commercial, what it's going to do to all the traffic and the safety as well as for our community. We have small kids in our community. I'm just worried people go flying in and out of that area. I'm just worried about the traffic and the safety.
All right. Thanks for letting us know your thoughts. All right, John, we got some questions that they had, that if you could come up and then address, whoever you want to address it, will, first two talked about Socrates and 485 traffic count. If we could, I think your question, Laura, was were they included in the traffic count? Is that true?
Or why, or are they not? I don't feel like it gives a complete picture if that wasn't included in the prospect of 485.
Okay, thanks.
So again, Randy Goddard on the traffic study. The traffic study was a smaller scope, right? So it was confined by the limits of the roundabout at Tilly and the one at Chestnut. It didn't expand beyond that. And again, we met with NCDOT and the town to determine the study area. When existing schools or whatever are beyond that limit, they're not included. We included traffic during those periods of time, so if there was traffic going to and from those schools, it would have been part of the through movement. But our development and the intersections that we analyzed did not go north to Socrates. In addition, the Weddington Road interchange is, of course, in the future, and we're looking at a short projection of traffic here. And NCDOT didn't say in the discussions that we had to figure out what might be the traffic projection when Weddington and the interchange open. So again, small confined area of the traffic study. It's per the approved scope. And guessing at what traffic projections are in the future were not part of this smaller area of the traffic study that we looked at. So again, Socrates is to the north, and the future interchange, you know, again, we would see traffic projections only within our area. I would agree that the through traffic coming on other parts of Union County or further south would contribute and be along that road, but they would have lots of options and different paths. How they would change and go to the future intersections or interchanges on 485 were not within the scope of our traffic study.
All right.
What is the mileage of your traffic study?
So normally it's not a set distance. Usually we look at the next major.
What was yours?
Right. What I was responding to is we look at what might be the next major intersection. So Antioch is the middle one. So we looked at what would be the next major intersection to the north and south, which would be the two roundabouts. Socrates is obviously significantly further to the north, and the Weddington Road interchange is literally over 2 miles to the north. So that's outside the limits of the traffic study.
What exactly was the mileage, or half a mile, or?
So it's not really set on mileage, it's next major intersection. So again, to the south is the Tilly Morris roundabout. So that was the limit.
How many, you don't know the exact distance between Tilly Morris and?
So I can tell you that from Tilly Morris to the Weddington or the Providence Road interchange is like 2.5 miles. And it's literally about the same distance from there to the interchange at the north at Weddington. But the limits of the traffic study is not based on distances. It's based on the discussion with the DOTs and the next major intersection to the north and the south, which again are the roundabouts, which book in the site.
Lori, may I?
Yeah, Brad.
Please.
Yeah, thank you. Let me just have a little bit of latitude here, if you don't mind. That's a great question. I was, for those of you who don't know me, I live in District 6. Stallings is the long town. I'm in the southernmost part, so this technically is my district. I've talked to some of you on the phone, and I'll email and meet with some of you next week. The distance is hard to know, but I know it takes 90 seconds without traffic to drive from one roundabout to the other. Certain times of the day, it takes 4.5 minutes to do that. So let me just talk for just a minute about traffic. You guys all have brought up 6 or 7 perspectives through which to grade this project. Schools was brought up. Is the owner going to be invested in the community for the long term? Property values, highest and best use, property rights, balancing the property rights of the owner of the property with the adjacent property rights of those who live adjacent, the conflicting of land use. Stallings has, one of the speakers mentioned, what are we building? There's an intentional build here, by the way. This isn't out of the blue. It's a small area plan adopted by this council several years ago that calls for a walkable activity center in our town. That's in a direct conflict with Weddington's strategy, and you know that. So this meeting was probably going to happen at some point, but it's a conflict between a residential develop with low density and a town who's adopted a plan with mixed-use development, walkway to that. That's sort of the conflict in the room. But let me talk about, another one is opportunity cost. This land is developed, it's done for a generation or more. It's a big deal. But traffic is the one that we've talked about the most, offline, online, my neighbors, my constituents, the Weddington folks that live nearby. That's generally the tone. Here's the unsatisfying thing about a TIA, traffic impact analysis. It's just unbelievable. Because the numbers of trips generated from a traffic impact analysis from a predetermined spot partly is a ratio. Can you hear me okay? Sorry. Partly from a ratio. I saw you doing this. You're old. We're all going to be old. Partly from ratio, this use equals this many trips per unit or per, a commercial development generates more trips per day than a home. My home generates more trips per day than another use. That's how it's developed. Plus, and here's the important part, it's that plus observation. Here's some thoughts on the traffic. Bear with me. If you were, I'll ask you, if you were trying to determine how much traffic this development would generate and test the validity of a TIA submitted to by the developer that will be approved by the town and the state later, what would you do? Do what I did. I went next door. 6 years ago, 5 years ago, the apartment complex was built. Part of the reason I'm sitting here, by the way, is I was appointed to this council in 2019 after the person sitting in the seat left town, partly because of just, you might say run out of town. I don't know that to be the case, but it was really bad. I came in as that. So I've been on this council for 6 years. You would test the TIA for a multifamily development by looking at a multifamily development in the same area. We have a laboratory right next door. I invite you to do this in the next couple of weeks. Do this. Do what I did. So I'm going to give you some numbers. It'll make some of you thrilled. It'll make some of you not. But here's what's happening in a multifamily, and we're testing the validity of the traffic numbers. Chestnut Apartments next door. Somebody said it, 426 units. Maybe more 3 bedrooms than maybe planned. I don't think there's that many, frankly, but there's some. 426 units, 256 units, thank you, Tim. 425 parking spaces. If the garages are full, we're assuming there's cars in there in my analysis. 11 o'clock at night, 3 o'clock in the morning, 301 cars on site. I'm thinking that's what's there, 301 cars on site. Maybe add the garages, 315. 425 capacity, 315 there at the middle of the night. That tells me how many cars are parked there. How many of those cars leave during the day, and when do they leave? I'd want to know that too. The developer and this team is saying not much traffic is generated by this development. I'm testing that. So my wife is about to leave me, but for many, many days, I'm joking, she would never do that. Well, she might do that. I've spent hours, literally hours of my day understanding the traffic that comes out of that complex, testing it. You have to decide, is it a valid comparison? I think that it is. It's bigger, 15% bigger. It's multi-story. I don't think that matters necessarily on traffic. But what do we learn when we observe the traffic coming out of there? 40% of the cars never leave. Never. So you check it at midnight, it's 3:01. You check it in the mid-afternoon or late morning, it's about 1:45 or 1:70. Those cars stay. They don't leave in the middle of the morning in rush hour. I thought that was surprising and very helpful for me. I'm going to look at my notes real quick and give you some numbers. The TIA said on 2/17, that was a day of the week, I don't, maybe a midday it's certainly midweek. 86 cars left that complex through the traffic circle. 86 in the rush hour in the morning. My observations on 5/21 was a Wednesday, 80 did. They didn't necessarily test the right out lane. There's one exit out there that's not into the roundabout. 40 cars came out of there. That's not insignificant, but it's not 200. 29 of those cars left during the peak 30-minute window where it's the worst. Let's talk about traffic real quick. And please, don't hear me. I want you to dialogue with me about this after the meeting because this is important. We have terrible traffic in this area because of schools and because of a few other infrastructure failures. Then we have speeding, tons of open laneage the rest of the day. Antioch's elementary school. You don't go there 7 to 7:30 unless you're dropping off a kid or you're trying to come through. Unfortunately, some of us have to come through to go to work. 30 minutes and it's done. Traffic cop out there letting cars in and out. 30 minutes and it's done. Union Day. 90 seconds to drive from one roundabout to Union Day at 7:20 in the morning. At 7:50 in the morning, 4 minutes plus. At 8 o'clock in the morning, 90 seconds. Socrates. It's conflated with the backup at McKee and Weddington. You all know this. If you drive these roads, you know you don't quite know what's Socrates and what's the Harris Teeter Publix complex, but you know it's a mess. Socrates is expanding, adding a high school, fortunately adding a right turn lane off of Weddington into the property. That'd be helpful. The high school is going to have a long high school parking lot that will be the queuing lane, and they'll start using Simfield Church Road. They don't allow lefts out, which causes a lot of U-turns in a lot of neighborhoods, which is unfortunate. But again, it's literally 45 minutes. You got to test this, folks. So stop there for a minute. Let me just talk about.
Can I add one thing, just sir?
Please.
The other thing I would say is keep in mind the other ancillary vehicles. There's more fire, there's more ambulance, there's more delivery trucks, there's more semis, there's more commercial construction vehicles going through. There is significantly more
you're right.
traffic as a result of that. Not the people living there, but now because of those things, the amount of volume has picked up significantly.
Yeah, let's dialogue after. I'm totally cool. We need to have this conversation. This is a big deal, and we'll continue to be in this area. There's a lot of undeveloped land. And you're exactly right. During construction of anything, my road was the detour while the roundabout was being built. It got destroyed. You're right. School buses don't come here, by the way. Let's talk about schools just real quick. And I don't want to dominate. I want to stop in just a minute. But one school bus comes in the morning. Two buses come in the morning to the apartment complex. One child gets on one bus, less than 5 on the other. This isn't a school generator. Multifamily apartments don't generate school traffic. I've seen firsthand. Believe me, 10% of this project is 3 bedrooms. That might be more 3 bedrooms. In Chestnut Farms, I've counted 6, though they won't tell you how many they have but there won't be school traffic here. Sad they won't go to Antioch if there is a child. Hold one second, let me get through, and then we'll take questions. Big picture traffic. I was thinking you would, when Mr. Goddard mentioned a 225-foot storage lane to help people turn right onto Antioch Church Road, that's the most exciting thing to me in the world. Here's why. You sit at the Marathon station, you watch the traffic coming down Tilly Morris Road, trying to turn right onto Antioch Church Road. The traffic impact analysis study said half of the cars do that. I saw a third. 1 out of every 3. This is rush hour. This is not when there's no traffic. There is no traffic 20 hours of the day generally. It moves. Not congested, it's cars. I'm sorry?
I said that's noise, that's what we're talking
Yeah. I get it. Yeah. And faster the cars and noise. That's why we even have the audacity to lower the speed limit and add a pedestrian crossing, which, by the way, Sandy, it's not going to be at the roundabout. It'll be a halt crossing. You push a button, the traffic signal's there. It will stop the cars, and my kids and your kids could walk across to the park and to the new greenway. It's a big problem. Again, we call it the 55 zone in my community. 55. That's not the speed limit. It's either 50 or it's 5. It takes 180 cars to go from McKee Road intersection to the roundabout, stacked, and it happens. It's bad for a part of the day. We need more infrastructure. This project, from my observation, isn't the traffic generator you think that it is. I thought that it was. It's not. Let me talk about a couple of things happening that will help. This right turn lane, 1 out of every 3 cars turns right. They say 1 out of every 2. My number's better from a town perspective. It hurts them, actually. But every car wants to turn right, but only the first 2 or 3 can turn right because there's no lane. It just backs up to the circle. That's part of the problem. There is no lane there. It won't be built. I should have said this before. I serve as this town's representative on the Regional Transportation Board. 3 counties, a bunch of government people and electeds sit around a table. It's terribly boring, but it's how we allocate and spend federal road dollars. Mind-numbingly boring, but what you do learn, there's not enough money. Projects are delayed. Money's flowing western to the western part of the state for good reason for the next decade. This intersection won't be improved, is what I'm trying to say, without a private developer doing something. So you hope what he or she does doesn't make it worse, mitigates it, or maybe improves it. I could argue with you over coffee nicely that this would improve. It'll improve that turn. 1 second, please. The Chestnut Lane Road, you're exactly right. I've lived on Chestnut Lane for 30 years. I've been married, never lived off of Chestnut Lane one way or the other. Part of what we're seeing, there's only 2 road segments that are above pre-COVID levels. Only 2 road segments in this general area that are above pre-COVID level. It's where your road is and my road is, Chestnut between Potter and Weddington Road, and Tilly Morris. Tilly Morris is Tilly Morris is 500 cars above its COVID average back in 2019. This segment of Chestnut is up 1,500 cars daily. Do you know why? No. Yes, I agree. And it won't get much better, but a lot of it is because of the failed intersection at Potter and Pleasant Plains. I got to tell you, look at the traffic data, NCDOT's interactive maps. You can do it. If I could do it, you could who wants change and is really smart and builds things, you'd love this website. Click on it and you'll see that pre-COVID, Potter Pleasant Plains was moving. From 21 to 23, those years, the traffic on Potter's Road at the terminus of Monroe Road declined by 1,000 vehicles. And that's the same time Chestnut Lane, where you live and I live, went up 1,500 vehicles. We're building at our own expense Potter Pleasant Plains. It's terrible. It has been terrible. It'll be done sometime next year. That traffic's going to move back over that way, we hope. A couple things you may not know. There's a traffic signal coming at Forest Lawn and Antioch Road. That'll help in the morning. Weddington Matthews Road at McKee Road, the big problem, the huge problem. It literally backs up past Socrates and all the way to the roundabout sometimes. It's planned to be improved. If you look at it now, it doesn't line up with the interchange. It doesn't line up, but that's a 2027 project, but my guess is it'll slide because of the funding. We could talk about McKee Road extension. We can talk about the improvements at Monroe Road interchange. We could talk about a lot of different traffic improvements being made, but none of them, I think, they all are important. The one right turn lane, I don't want to overstate how important it is, but it's critical to get that done. It'll help cars move from the school system out, evening traffic get through. So that's the future intersection improvements coming to the area. Let me see if I have anything else to say. Then this is not a Q&A. Sadly, this is not the format for Q&A. It takes too much of your time. I'm going to hang out afterwards to talk to you. My big point is, when I look at this project, I'm asking myself this question. It's going to make it worse. It's going to be neutral, which is what they're required to do by law, or is it going to make it better? I don't think this makes it worse with the dollars they're going to spend on the roundabout improvement and the turn lane in the full intersection. Happy to talk to anybody after the meeting. I'm meeting with 2 of you next week, I think, just to talk about it as well. Yeah, and I'd be terribly upset if this showed up in my backyard. I totally would. My neighbor's taking down 30 trees to build a pool, and I'm upset, but I love my neighbor. So I'm like, okay. You don't love this neighbor because you haven't lived with him for 30 years, but I understand it's a big deal. I didn't know about the berm. That's a new addition. Even tonight, I didn't know about that would protect your property in some opacity with the landscaping. But that's sort of where I am on this now. We won't vote tonight, I don't think, by the way, because I think we want to see an improved traffic impact analysis study. But you needed to hear that from me and have the invitation to sit and talk about these numbers. I think you're overestimating. I overestimated the number of cars and the insignificance of the road improvements. Sorry, Mayor, I took too long.
No, that's all right. Appreciate all the information there, Brad.
Sewer or water?
Ma'am, if you, we have a process here. So if you want to, no, I'll let you speak, but you need to come up here and tell us your name, where you live, and,
My name is Vanessa Chance, and I live at 1126 Butterbur Drive.
Ah, that's right. Hey, Vanessa.
Yeah, hi.
Too long.
Okay. I am just as concerned as, I think it was Sandy? Christy, I'm sorry, your husband and the gentleman in the green. All of the things that they said, I just piggyback on all of that. I am concerned. Yes, traffic is an issue, but there are other issues like the water. Like if it's coming out of Union County, I live at the end of Butterbur, and my water literally trickles out. What are we doing about that? What's going to be done?
well, let me just be, we don't control water or
I
sewer.
get that.
There's
I get that, but
nothing-
this is going to add to it.
But there's nothing that this council can do, nothing. We've preached to them till we're blue in the face. So, that's why they're raising our taxes, so.
Well, I think she's suggesting what we could do is not approve more building. I get that argument, so I don't know. We'll find out.
All right, we'll close the public hearing, so now discussion among council. Brad made a good point. In my opinion, until we have a complete TIA, I don't think we've ever approved a project without having all the facts, so that would be my recommendation. Expand the scope, as somebody talked about, and to include a bigger area, but Brad?
Well, I had understood that Max and the development team had discussed that possibility that without an approved TIA, that it could be, we could probably come back in a couple of weeks and consider it again.
Further decision.
Right, well, sure. So that's what I recommend. So what's the pleasure of the council?
Well, I'd like to discuss one other thing on there. I mean,
Sure.
it's not just the traffic. One of the concerns that I've had that Graham brought up, I've kind of touched on, even folks here, is that, one of the things that is important for us as a town is that commercial piece. And I'd like, I guess, just reading through what is the requirements here for, I'm a little concerned that that commercial piece is not protected as far as when it's going to be delivered or if it would be delivered. And I'd like to see that those conditions get tightened up a little bit.
All right.
Like tidied up how?
That there's stipulations that it gets built as part of getting authorization for them to open up the their certificate of occupancy. Because right now, it's very lean on what could be developed. And not for this project, but just like the other gentleman had said, we too, on the council, have been burned by approving things that had commercial, and we thought, hey, that's great, we're doing something great, we're bringing, you know, I hate to say it, but tax dollars. I mean, one of the things we've got to talk about tonight is the budget, and anybody who's heard the budget discussions, budget money is tight. So, if we approve a project that says it's gonna bring commercial, it needs to bring commercial, to make it worthy for us. So,
Yeah, and if I could elaborate on that from my concern is, one, there's no minimum square footage, it's just a maximum, which whenever you say there's a maximum but no minimum, it could be 0. And two is they get their last certificate of occupancy issued upon the first commercial property, as far as I understand it. So essentially, they could do 221 units, just sit on the last unit and never develop any commercial. So I would like to see, from my point of view, it done in phases. You know, you get 1/3 of your certificate of occupancy done when you get 1/3 of commercial built, yada, yada. They can figure that out, how they want to present that. But that's my concern. And then the other concern is, I think we've seen, our roads are, you know, we're behind, right? What we talk about in our budget meeting? We're like 56 years, 80 years. So I don't want to see these roads ever come into the town, because I don't think we have the capability to handle them. I don't know if we can control that. I don't think you know what it is, but that's my 2 cents. 3 cents, I guess.
I think we can control roads if they're not.
All right, Brad, you ready to make a motion to table this until we get a complete TIA?
Yeah, I don't think anybody's prepared to vote tonight, and I hope that was communicated. Some of you maybe mentioned that too, but I'd make the motion to, you want to continue the public hearing, or we close it? You close the public hearing.
Yeah, I've closed the public
Okay,
hearing.
so I'll defer the item till the approval of the TIA by the state and the staff. And that can be as early as 2 weeks from tonight.
Yeah,
Can
so,
we also put in some of the things?
well, that's what we'll do when we come back.
Oh, you're gonna wait till,
But, I mean, I think those are great questions that I don't know that I know the answer to either, about the certainty of the commercial, which is, you know, something that's important to me as well, of course. So that needs to be part of the motion to defer, but probably just something that Max and the staff and the development team would sort of answer for us prior to that meeting. I feel like that's the right.
I agree with you, so.
before you, just before we go forward, I had a question to Max earlier as part of our one-on-one, and I just wanted to know if he had an answer to that. Were you able to reach out to the Texas?
No, it was too short notice. Today's, the council meeting day was very packed. I apologize.
Okay, so that would be one thing that I would want also answered is.
So you want me to reach out to
No.
Texas, the
Yes.
Texas
Yes.
municipalities?
Yes.
That these developments are in, and ask them how the benefits? Or in the
I would just like to get
pros and cons?
their thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah, their feedback.
I do that.
also see, you said you have a list, I don't know what you said, 8 pages, 12 pages of your concerns and, that you like.
No, I don't know what you're referring to. I apologize.
No, that's right.
I think he's talking about this.
Conditions.
The conditions.
Your conditions.
Yep, the conditions were agreed to upon staff and the developer. They're printed right there for you.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So, we are continuing the item to, until the TIA is approved by town staff and.
Right, that's the motion.
SQD. Okay, all right, and then.
Motion by
Check online.
Mr. Richardson.
Motion to include it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Melanie just recommended we put sort of a date certain on the back end, so defer until either the June 23rd or the July 2nd Monday meeting, whatever that would be.
Okay.
If that's sufficient.
All right. Can I get a second? Second. Second by Lori. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. All righty. So now, who's doing the speed limit thing? Alex? Is it Alex or Brad? Or?
May I? Yeah, and this was just moved up. We're just asking, earlier in the consent item, you saw a speed limit reduction item. That was a good thing that we just did. What we just did in approving consent was to take the take the city's approval of the state reducing the speed limit from the county line to Antioch Church Road to 35. Again, as we discussed, you don't go 35 except for a good bit of the day, not in traffic. What we received from the state later, last week, was this item, which we're going to ask staff tonight to begin working with the state to prepare a resolution, like we just did, to lower the speed limit on Chestnut Lane from the roundabout to where it starts 35 miles an hour. There's a segment of road that's currently 45 that needs to be 35. We've felt for a while. And so authorize the manager to get the resolution for the Chestnut Lane speed limit reduction and begin discussions on the feasibility and implementation of a Hawk and Beacon crossing, like you see at Stevens Mill Road we talked about earlier, at across Weddington Matthews Road near the Greenway entrance. So that's all we're asking, for them to start that process with the state, consistent with what we talked about a couple weeks ago.
Need a motion for that?
No, this is just an update.
Yeah.
Okay.
No action, but thank you.
All righty, next up is the charter change public hearing. Melanie?
Yes, at the last meeting, we talked about amending the charter, and an ad went out in the newspaper. All you have to do tonight is to have a public hearing, just so you know what the ad said. It said, "The town council hereby intends to consider a resolution of intent to consider an ordinance amending the town charter as set forth in the General Assembly of North Carolina as amended to make the term of office for Council District 1 for 2 years for one election cycle term only, 2025 through 2027, and returning to a 4-year term during the November 2027 election."
Okay.
So I just need you to open
Oh, we need to have it.
public hearing, yeah.
Oh, I thought we don't have to have it in the future? We don't have to advertise, or?
No, we did. I was telling you what was, we advertised it, I want to say
Okay.
May.
Okay, got you.
It was in the newspaper May 18th.
All right.
And it said the public hearing is today.
Oh, okay.
So that's what we're doing right now.
All right, well, I'll open the public hearing, and then we just heard from staff and our attorney. Anybody have any questions for Melanie? We've discussed this ad nauseum. So do you need a motion to approve the change?
No, that has to happen at the July meeting. It
Oh.
can't happen sooner than the next regular meeting.
Okay.
So this is the public hearing, and then in July, you'll have an ordinance on your agenda
All
amending
right,
the
I'll-
charter.
So I'll open the floor for any comments. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, and then we set the, at the first meeting in July, the second Monday in July. All right, thank you, Melanie. Thank you, Graham and Brad, for working on that. All right, next up is our resolution authorizing condemnation to acquire certain properties or interest in properties for the Ottawa Road improvements, and we have to approve these individually. And is there something in my packet here that? All these resolutions, let's see here.
There's a memo in your packet that starts on page 57.
Getting there. This budget is long.
And then on page 59 is a map of all of the affected parcels.
Gotta do them individually. All righty, first one up is a resolution authorizing condemnation to acquire certain property or interest property for Ottawa Road improvements. First one up is Nine Ventures LLC. Motion to approve this resolution.
Can I ask a quick question first?
Sure.
Because, just in general with the process here is that with this, we offered them a certain amount of money for, and then they still have the ability to come back and refute the amount of money again?
Correct. All of the property owners received a letter, and in that, it described the property that was going to be taken with a plat map, and let them know that they had 30 days. And after 30 days, I was going to bring a resolution to town council because I have to attach the resolution as an exhibit to the complaint.
Okay.
And we've heard from a couple of those, and that's why the Haglers, number 3, we don't need on here anymore. And the others we've not yet. So once we file the lawsuit, they'll have a certain amount of time to file an answer, and in that time, they can claim that the compensation is not just.
Okay, okay. All right.
And no one was here to speak on this, as you closed the public, so no property owners here. This is small
This
takings.
isn't a public hearing or anything like that.
Oh, okay, got it.
So,
Sorry.
Nine Ventures is the first one. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Richardson. Second by Mr. Ayers. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Second one is same resolution authorizing those 8 there, Larry Clinton, Arant Revocable Trust, Northeast Tool and Manufacturing Company, American Tower Asset Sub LLC, U.S. Bank and Trust Company, First Carolina Bank, Spectra Site Communications, Alltel Communications, and Sprint Com LLC. Can I get a motion to approve this? Motion by Laurie, second by Mr. Hall. All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it. Next one up is 3. We don't need that one. Next one up is Ms. Letitia McLean Hagler and Billy Todd Hagler.
That's the one that we took off the agenda. Next one is Francine McLean.
McLean, thank you, thank you, Melanie. All right, next one up is Francine McLean.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Scholl, second by Mr. Hall. All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it. Last one is the resolution for PTA Holdings and Two Rack Capital Partners.
So moved.
Motion by Laurie, second by Mr. Hall. All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it. All righty, takes care of that. All right, number 8, budget. Jesse, or Alex.
Sure. Mayor, first of all, I want to again thank you all for taking the time and spending extra time, really since November, working on the budget. I say facetiously, it's my goal to make the budget a 12-month year-round process, and we're starting a little earlier every year. And just a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of strategic planning, performance measurement into getting a budget process. So we've gone through all our budget meetings, and my understanding, my perception, and I ask you to correct me if I'm wrong, is that the board made changes to the budget at our last budget meeting and came to a consensus about how to approach the budget. And so now, for this meeting, we have a public hearing and potentially budget ordinance and fee schedule adoption.
Yeah, I'll open the public hearing. Sorry about that. Yep.
I'm happy to go over the changes that were made, but I know it's a long night, and we published that information.
Why don't you go over that Union County tax rate comparison? That's something new data that you generated for us.
I'd be glad to, and thank you to Ms. Williams for her work on that. And just to go over that, it's in front of you. So everywhere in the county is going through a tax value reevaluation, as is required by law. And so we compared it to what other jurisdictions have done that we know. So in the proposed budget, there was above the revenue neutral rate of about 4 cents. And 4.05 cents. The board went through, made some cuts, changed some things, and dropped that down to 3.5 cents. Indian Trail, my understanding is the board has tentatively agreed increase above the revenue neutral rate, a little bit higher than that, 4.12 cents. Waxhaw has a proposed budget that's a bit higher than Indian Trail at 4.8. County has it at 1.82 cents above the revenue rate. That's the proposed budget. And Weddington and Marvin have it a little bit lower. You could argue the jurisdictions as far as the services that they offer
Yeah, are limited.
Right.
Yeah.
So we don't know yet. The other one that's missing, right, the kind of larger organizational ones, it's Stallings, it's Indian Trail, it's Waxhaw, and the one that's missing is Monroe. We don't know yet what they're going to do. I saw in the paper that they're still considering, or work is still considering some scenarios, and I imagine the recent police shooting has probably, made them pause perhaps on that. So.
All right. Well, thanks for that data, Alex. I will point out that Union County is 1.8 cents, so I challenged them pretty hard for the last 6 months about sticking to the revenue neutral, and they did, and according to Brian Matthews and Melissa Merrill, the 1.8 is to cover the bonds that have been approved by the county. So they had to do that, so.
Okay.
So, that's something of a win. So,
Did I leave anything out there?
Add is just, you'll see just about everybody did decrease their rates, even though they were still above revenue neutral, so, and that's on there as well, so.
all righty. So we have the choice. It's a public hearing, so anybody want to make any comments on this budget? So if not, I'll close the public hearing. So we have the option of voting at the next meeting in June, or we can vote on it tonight. Correct, Alex and Melanie? That's right.
Just before July 1st.
Before July 1st. Right.
Oh, it just has to be done July 1st,
Yeah,
before
I'll make
July
a
1st.
I can make a are you guys ready or
Yes.
not? I'm
Yeah.
good. Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the 2025 fiscal, and 2026 fiscal year budget as proposed by the manager and the fee schedule.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Mr. Richardson, second by Mr. Ayers. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it, that's unanimous. Thank you, Mary. All righty, that's, down here.
Closed session or?
We're in a closed session, yeah.
Or police.
Pieces. All right. Motion to take a 5-minute recess. Oh,
Okay, so that's fine.
you
I'll
have
make a
something?
motion to go into closed session.
And for the first part, to invite the chief and
to
Kevin
invite
Parker.
Chief Dennis, what's your last?
Oh, we'll do that.
Breaks. I call you Dennis all the time. No,
We'll do that when we come back.
Okay, I
yeah,
just wanna make
take a
sure
quick
that everybody
recess.
did.
Yeah. 5 minutes, I want to speak to you.
Where's Kurt going?
Kurt, you
Kurt,
can't
where
run
you-
off.
You want to talk about sewer in the Matthews?
All right.
Yeah, I just took Hagler off because Cunningham's not on it, so we're going to talk about those back. No.
It is, it'll rattle your cage trying
Oh.
Right, oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is probably one of the better ones, frankly. We're talking, you're open-minded.
We just advertised for bids for a sidewalk repair project. Huge discrepancy in construction projects. You know, anything over 30 grand, they have to have a GC license. So I expected the project to be about 45. We got 45, 50, 30, 15. They don't have 15 as well. What are your thoughts on this?
I agree.
Yeah, I guess I could ask for references. That's the thing.
I mean, that should be kind of a
I know.
given. Why would we?
Did you have insurance? Yeah.
Say that was fun.
Huh?
You said that was fun?
No, just. Do enjoy hearing golfer guy who's an owner come up and he's like, well, I'll work on some of this stuff. I can't give you it all. No, give it all.
Yeah.
Or you could just not get it. I mean,
Deny it.
I don't owe you anything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hey, Dennis,
I know.
you should just go like Bono, you know?
I get why they have to, like, all of life is negotiation, so bravado and not, yeah. Not to get into politics, but, we have a president next to us. It's like, you have to understand, that's how he probably, 60 years, that's how he worked.
Yeah.
It's like, reach for the moon, pull way back.
Yeah. Yep.
Just along the way, hope.
Yeah. Play a little game. We gotta just play the game.
But it's fun.
I would check some references.
I will say, if done right,
Thank you.
amazing. Because if you go like
Tell him to get you in the parking lot.
Mill, it's right off the highway.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not familiar with it.
It's a very nice, enjoyable community where up front it's commercial, lots of restaurants. Kevin, have you ever been to Baxter Village? Down off of Fort Mill? Baxter Village. Yeah, I feel like it's. So I lived down in Fort Mill, and it was like we'd go over and do trivia, and it's very nice. Like lots of restaurants up front, residential in the back.
Let's go, Brad.
When done right, this can be nice. Augusta had this. Like,
Yeah.
funny
it's
enough, that's where
always-
they put their new ballpark. Is right behind it. We actually parked in the neighborhood. This like.
Mixed use kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, true mixed use. Like, this isn't true.
No, this is
This is just.
rebuilding.
It might be good.
Yeah.
I know Brad's gonna hate me for asking, but maybe, might be good
Yeah.
for him to give us kind of an overview on what he did, because it sounds like at least what he did for the folks, they were impressed by it, just so that we kind of have a.
Well, I thought that's what he did.
Like I said,
Well, no,
I feel like
I think he
I'm
met
picturing
with
it
lots of people
Baxter,
Oh.
and he
said if you do
created
it
some
right-
information packets for them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Right,
Yeah,
and-
sure.
Because, I mean, we got a lot of these things coming up.
And then this, and then
I don't know who he's talking to, but let's
put
go.
some lights up on the street, make it like a
Little clock
again,
tower.
and I don't care what it looks like. Honestly, at the end of the day.
You ready, Brad?
Yeah, let me poke my head out there real quick.
I need to shut this.
And then close for closed session.
Just come out of recess.
Well,
What was I thinking when I said go on? I'm going under.
I was hoping.
No, I knew this one.
You knew something.
Yeah.
Alex knew something. He laughed. I feel like when I said,
Cooking the
I'm going
books.
under, and you're like,
You said under? Oh, my God.
yeah.
I
Well, I
did-
didn't think that there would be a room full of people.
I didn't either.
Oh,
You just said there'll be a couple people there.
Yeah.
if y'all been keeping up with social media, we knew that, yeah.
The only post I saw was today.
Oh,
And no one
no,
had
there's been,
replied to it and, on Nextdoor.
oh, there's been several on Nextdoor.
And I don't go on Facebook, so.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I didn't even pay it as close attention because I was on vacation last week, so I didn't, and I knew, so, like, I didn't respond to any like I normally do just because I was on vacation, but it was like,
Where'd you go? Where were you?
Ocracoke? The Outer Banks?
Oh, yeah. Is it nice?
Mhm.
Is that last week?
Well,
All
Brad,
righty.
it's all your fault
All righty, let's,
that we went over.
Too loud. Oh, I gotta think.
No,
Was
not
it-
at
you
all.
told
No,
us-
you're
was my
very
tone
calm.
Good?
Very respectful.
Yeah.
Respectful, good. I was hoping it was.
all right.
Matter of fact, we're gonna ask you.
Don't point that at me. I got enough.
All right, somebody make the motion, go into,
Make a
closed
motion to go
session,
into closed session and invite Kevin and Chief Franks.
based on 143, 318.11, A3. Motion by Mr. Richardson, second by Mr. Shoal.